Chapter 23:54. Yi Qinghan looked around and was stunned by this natural cave. Some different mysterious steel was embedded in the dome, emitting a faint light. This was just the mysterious Mother Immortal Steel in the open. There must be some better mid-grade mysterious Mother Immortal Steel in the mountain. However, even if it was in the open, the mysterious Mother Immortal Steel in the dome couldn't be mined. It was too high and couldn't fly in the mountain. Even Long Yang couldn't do it. If he forcefully blasted the mysterious Mother Immortal Steel, it would only cause the mountain to collapse, making it even harder to mine. Yi Qinghan looked around the dome. The stone walls were very smooth and didn't have any support points, making it impossible to climb. The stone was also very hard. Trying to break it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens, making mining extremely difficult. Li Peiza was also carefully observing. He poked the stone wall with his ice spear and found that even if he used his immortal spiritual energy and ice spear, he could only open up a small area. If this continued, he might not be able to mine the mysterious Mother Immortal Steel in 100 years. It is indeed a mid-grade mysterious Mother Immortal Steel. The mining value is not small, but the mining price is also very high. The final profit will be reduced by a lot, and the possibility of losing everything is very high. Li Peiza concluded. Yi Qinghan nodded in agreement. However, deep in his heart, he was still willing to mine this mysterious Mother Immortal Steel. After all, the mysterious Mother Immortal Steel was very valuable. A fist-sized mid-grade mysterious Mother Immortal Steel was worth about 1,000,000 celestial coins. However, once it was refined into a mysterious immortal-grade weapon, its value would increase by several times. Long Yang smiled bitterly and said, "If the two of you don't want to invest, this old man really can't do anything. Now that you have seen it, I have no money. The mine is just empty here and can't be mined. There is no return capital, so there is no way to repay your money." Yi Qinghan touched his nose and asked lightly, "If we are willing to invest, how much would we need to invest? How much profit would we get? How much would we get?" A glint flashed across Long Yang's eyes, and he immediately said, "Regarding the investment and returns, I've already calculated it. If we continue to invest, we'll need another 300 million. However, the return on investment will be 3 billion or even more. After deducting the cost, we'll still have a profit of 2.6 billion. The Celestial Nation will take 300 million from the offerings, leaving 2.3 billion for me to keep. Even if we split the rest evenly, we'll still get 500 million. Yi Qinghan sneered and quietly replied, "We took out 300 million, but the final return is only 500 million. The Longyang City Lord is really greedy. But this mine belongs to Longyang City. Also, I invested a lot in the early stages," Long Yang immediately explained. Yi Qinghan shook his head and calmly replied, "The Longyang City Lord is wrong. Right now, there aren't many people who can invest 300 million in you. After all, the difficulty of this mine is much higher than other mines. In the end, we might lose everything. We're betting our future with you. If the return is too little, do you think it's fair?" Yi Qinghan was an expert negotiator. He was someone who would take advantage of any opportunity. It was basically impossible for Long Yang to take advantage of him. Long Yang's eyelids twitched and he asked in a deep voice, "How do you think we should split it, fellow Taoist Yi? Also, where are you going to find 300 million to mine this mine?" The Qian family couldn't take out 300 million unless they gave up their original business and changed their assets to mine. However, this wasn't very realistic. If they took out 300 million from the Qian family, the Qian family would quickly collapse. The Qian family wouldn't gamble. The wealthy Li family might not be interested in this mine. After all, there were too many people who wanted it. After excluding the Celestial Nation's consecrator, the remaining profits will be divided equally among the three parties. As for the source of the funds, Brother Li and I will think of a way. Yi Qinghan said firmly. Other than this share, I will not accept any other share. Long Yang took a deep breath. He didn't expect Yi Qinghan's appetite to be so big. Li Pei's eyes flashed. He didn't know why Yi Qinghan wanted to mine the mine, but he had no choice. Long Yang definitely couldn't take out the money now. If they didn't get some benefits from the mine, then the 20 million would be wasted. How long will it take to invest the funds? Long Yang asked in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan thought for a moment, then looked at the two and said, "This will depend on your help. Who can quickly contact Dong Wang Xian of the East Clan? She will help me come up with this part of the money." Li Pei and Long Yang both took a deep breath and looked at Yi Qinghan in surprise. They didn't expect him to know the little princess of the East Clan and be able to get hundreds of millions of investment from her. It seemed like the relationship between Dong Wang Xian and Yi Qinghan was not ordinary. Wait. Li Pei suddenly remembered that he couldn't raise the funds, so he quickly reminded Yi Qinghan, "Brother Yi, other than the 20 million in debt, I can't take out any money. Can you borrow 300 million from the little princess of the East Clan? Even the wealthy Li family can't take out that much? It's only a little over 100 million. How could a wealthy Li family be short of money?" Yi Qinghan frowned and asked. Li Pei smiled bitterly and said, "Brother Yi, to tell you the truth, I'm not a direct descendant. I'm just a collateral descendant. I can't transfer much money from the Li family. Moreover, the Li family has been discussing business with other major forces recently. Most of the liquid funds have been transferred away. I can only rely on myself." Yi Qinghan didn't dare to guarantee that he could get Dong Wang Xian to transfer 300 million. At the moment, he was a little worried. After all, Princess Xianyuan Qingyun was too far away. Otherwise, he could borrow some money from her. The negotiations were in a deadlock again. Long Yang was now very much looking forward to Yi Qinghan's participation in the cooperation. After all, there weren't many people who knew the little princess of the East Clan, and even fewer who could make her fork out so much money. Yi Qinghan's identity could be used. Yi Qinghan rubbed his fingertips helplessly. "Wait a minute, I can still borrow 30 million, and it can be transferred to my account within a month." Li Pei suddenly thought of something and quickly said, "I'll give you 30 million, plus the 20 million in debt. I'll only take 5% of the profits and give the remaining 5% to Brother Yi. How about that?" This meant that Li Pei would get 100 million less in investment, but also a few hundred million less in return. "I'll give it a try. Let's go back to the city and borrow the information from the martial arts record system. We'll send this request for help to Dong Wang Xian and see if she can raise 270 million. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. He was very much looking forward to swallowing this mine. It was at least 1 billion in profit. It was an amount that many people couldn't obtain in their lifetime. Hua! The three of them quickly left the mine and came out. The miners looked at Long Yang and Li Pei with great anticipation, hoping that their cooperation would be successful. "Everyone, how about we wait for 2 more months?" Long Yang asked in a deep voice. "Impossible. You've already delayed us for half a year. City Lord Long Yang, back then, we came to open the mine because you were the City Lord. Now you're actually treating us like this. We can drink the northwest wind, but do you want our families to drink the northwest wind as well?" Some of the miners' leaders immediately asked angrily. Obviously, this group of people had already discussed it, and Long Yang didn't dare to anger them. "How much do you owe them?" Yi Qinghan asked curiously. Long Yang's mouth twitched, then he smiled bitterly and said, "About 30 million celestial coins." Chapter 23:55. No wonder they couldn't do it. They owed 30 million in salary. Since Yi Qinghan wanted to get the mining rights, he naturally had to be responsible for this debt. However, even if Dong Wang Immortal could help him, it would take at least 2 months to get the money. This group of people didn't want to wait, so they could only rely on Li Peiza to take care of this debt. Brotherly, you take care of this debt first. Don't worry. Even if Princess Dongwang Immortal can't invest in me, I have other ways to take out the 300 million to open the mine. I guarantee you won't lose money. Yi Qinghan said confidently. Li Peiza nodded and said to the group of miners, Everyone, I, Li Peiza, guarantee with my reputation that you will receive your salary in at most a month. Please be patient and give me some time to withdraw the money. Alright. We believe in young Master Li. We will wait for another month. The miners agreed without hesitation. After all, Li Peiza's reputation was there, and he was an expert on the heaven roll. No one wanted to offend him. Seeing that this group of people was appeased, Yi Qinghan said to Long Yang, City Lord Long, seal this mine first. Long Yang waved his hand and sealed the entrance of the mine with a mystic immortal restriction spell. No one could enter the mine. Long Yang dismissed this group of miners and called back the consecrators. All of them returned to the city. Yi Qinghan, Long Yang, and Li Peiza went directly to the martial arts recording system. In front of the two, they spent 200,000 celestial coins to send a message to Dongwang Immortal. The martial arts recording system guaranteed that the message would be sent to the East Divine region within 10 days and that there would be a reply within a month. The message was simple. Longyang City, Yi Qinghan urgently needs 300 million in funds. Urgent reply. This message was quickly sent to the East Divine region through the martial arts recording system's complete intelligence system. 8 days later, far away in the East Divine region, in the West Garden Palace's courtyard of the East Divine region, Dongwang Immortal sat by the lake in the corner of the courtyard. Hundreds of flowers bloomed around her. Immortal Qi filled the air and green birds circled around her. At this moment, she was sitting on a stone stool. Her eyes were shining brightly and filled with emotions. She looked at the sky as if she was reminiscing about something. Her mouth was full of happiness. Are you in love, young princess? These days I've been seeing you snickering for no reason. Which family's young master do you like? A beautiful servant girl was lying on Dongwang Immortal's lap. She raised her head and looked at Dongwang Immortal's devastatingly beautiful face as she teased. Dongwang Immortal stretched out her jade-like hand and pinched the little maidservant's nose as she said, Little girl, you're asking for a beating. You even dare to tease me. It seems that if I don't teach you a lesson, you won't know the difference between master and servant. Young princess, please spare my life. Xiao Chui won't dare to do it again. The little girl's eyes were brimming with tears. She looked so pitiful that people couldn't bear to see her like this. Dongwang Xian naturally wouldn't be angry with this little girl, because Xiao Chui had been by her side since she was young. Or rather, it could be said that she had grown up together with her. Their relationship was very good. Stinky girl, have the spies I sent out replied? Dongwang Xian asked. Xiao Chui hurriedly replied, No, Sister Xian, why did you send a spy out? Why is he so mysterious? Dongwang Xian had a mischievous look on her face as she pinched Xiao Chui's nose and said, None of your business. Dong dong dong, there were a few hurried knocks on the door from outside the courtyard. Young princess, there is an intelligence officer from the martial arts recording system outside. He said that he has a message from Longyang City. A hurried voice transmitted into the courtyard. Whoosh! Dongwang Xian jumped 3 feet high and rushed to the door. She opened the door and said, Hurry up and invite him in. Not long later, a middle-aged man walked into the courtyard. He bowed and said, Martial Arts Recording System, East Continent's East Emperor City's manager, Yi Shijuan, greets young princess. Dongwang Xian said impatiently, Hurry up and tell me. What is the message? It's a message from a person called Yi Qinghan. The middle-aged man bowed slightly. The corner of his mouth twitched as he transmitted a message. The message is, Longyang City, Yi Qinghan continues to request 300 million in funds. Hurry back. Dongwang Xian was shocked. She did not expect Yi Qinghan to personally send her a message. Furthermore, he requested 300 million in funds in one go. Young princess, after this message is sent, the content will be directly deleted from this old man's mind. This is the rule of the martial arts recording system. Therefore, you do not have to worry about it being leaked. If there is nothing else, I will take my leave first. Yi Shijuan bowed and said. Dongwang Xian nodded repeatedly. After sending Yi Shijuan off, she immediately rushed into a huge palace. Father! Father! Dongwang Xian's naive and innocent personality was exposed at this moment. Although she was a rank 1 woman, her status in the East Continent was rather high. This was because she was the host of the East Continent's ancestral artifact. This was not something that anyone could be qualified to do. At the back of the palace there was a courtyard, a garden, a mountain, a lake, a valley. It was extremely luxurious. A middle-aged man and a graceful young woman were watering the immortal herbs and flowers. They were very loving. Whoosh! Dongwang Xian rushed through the palace and came to the courtyard at the back. When she saw the 2 loving people, she immediately pouted and said, Father, Mother, can you not show off your love in front of me? Your daughter will be jealous. The middle-aged man was the direct descendant of the East Continent's royal family. He was the successor of the next generation's family head, the Eastern Emperor Grand Venerable. The woman was a princess of the Dragon Emperor Immortal Kingdom. Dongwang Xian was the product of the marriage between the East Continent's royal family and the Dragon Emperor Immortal Kingdom. However, the love between the Eastern Emperor Grand Venerable and the Dragon Princess was beyond imagination. The Dragon Princess covered her mouth and laughed lightly. Her voluptuous body exuded a dignified and kind aura. She looked at Dongwang Xian with a doting expression. Her figure flashed and she hugged Dongwang Xian. She said gently, Good daughter, you came here yourself and still blame us for showing off our love. Tell me, what do you want? A mother knows her daughter best. Mother knows me best. I need money. Dongwang Xian stretched out her slender fingers and said playfully. Pucci, at this moment, the Eastern Emperor Grand Venerable laughed. His voice was as deep as an ancient bell, heavy and dignified. A rare smile appeared on his square face as he asked, Daughter, everyone in the world lacks money. Only you don't lack money, right? Father, I really lack money. I know that this bit of money is nothing to you, but to me, it's just average. Are you going to give it to me or not? Dongwang Xian pouted and asked. How much? The Eastern Emperor Grand Venerable asked curiously. Dongwang Xian smiled flatteringly. 300 million immortal coins, I want it now. What? 300 million is a small matter? To you, it's only average. Then how much is the big idea? The Eastern Emperor Grand Venerable laughed and teased. I don't care. Just 300 million, this is related to my daughters. Daughter's big matter, hurry up and give it to me, or I'll ask grandfather for it. Dongwang Xian raised her head and threatened. The Eastern Emperor Grand Venerable was the future master of a family. He was 2 meters tall, but at this moment, he was actually a little speechless. He had a way to deal with everyone, except for his daughter. 300 million, mother and father can give it to you, but you have to tell me what you need so much money for. After all, this is not a small matter. The Dragon Princess said with a smile. The Dongwang Immortal rubbed his hands and said shyly, Do you two still remember that I was saved by a person during my last mission? The Dragon Princess looked at the Dongwang Immortal curiously, nodded and said, I remember. He was the one who asked you for 300 million? Yes. But I know that he only begged me as a last resort, and he will definitely return it to me. Just consider it as a favor, give it to me. The Dongwang Immortal begged. The Eastern Emperor Grand Venerable's face immediately darkened, but the dragon princess shook his head and his arm, indicating that he should not scare the Donghuang immortal. Whoosh! The Eastern Emperor Grand Venerable sighed and tried his best to maintain a calm attitude. He said, "I can give you this 300 million, and you can also help him. However, after this time, no matter what he begs you to do, you must reject him. Otherwise, father will not help him." Chapter 2356. In the backyard of the Supreme Palace, tens of thousands of flowers bloomed and immortal energy lingered. The family of three stared at each other. The Donghuang immortal had a face full of confusion. It wasn't easy for him to wait for news of Yi Qinghan, who would have thought that his father would use this to threaten him not to be involved with Yi Qinghan in the future. "I like him." The Donghuang immortal did not hide anything, and she had never hidden anything from her parents. At this moment, her attitude was extremely firm. The Eastern Emperor Great Sovereign's expression became even uglier. He clenched his fists and said in a deep voice, "Xian heir, you are inexperienced, you do not understand the dangers of the martial arts world. The person you like is not worthy of your love. He relied on saving you. This time he asked you for 300 million, I guarantee that after he finished using it, he will continuously ask you for money, resources, and then take the initiative to pursue you, wanting to climb up the social ladder and become the son-in-law of the Eastern royal family." However, the Donghuang immortal had a face of disbelief, and firmly denied it. "Big brother Yi is definitely not that kind of person. I took the initiative to marry him and he didn't agree. This time, there must be no other way. Otherwise, he wouldn't have begged me. It wasn't easy for me to seize this opportunity to help him. How can you not support your daughter?" "Daughter, you really don't understand men. There aren't many people like your father in this world." The dragon princess reminded her with a doting expression. However, the Donghuang immortal did not care and directly said, "Big brother Yi is such a person, he will not compromise just because of my identity, unless he really likes me. I want to prove it to him, I want to become a good wife." When the Eastern Emperor Great Sovereign and the Dragon Princess saw that they could not persuade the Donghuang immortal, they could only use facts to speak. "You said that he will return it to you, then give me a time. You have to prove it to me, and I will also prove it to you. Your so-called big brother Yi is just a chicken that wants to become a phoenix. He will not be able to achieve great things, and in the future, he will continuously ask you for help, just like an ingrate that can't be fed." The Eastern Emperor Great Sovereign said in a deep voice. The Donghuang immortal shrugged his shoulders. He was extremely confident in Yi Qinghan, and said confidently, "If he is really the kind of person you say, then in the future, whatever you say, your daughter will definitely not refute. I will go wherever you want me to go." Clap of Yi Qinghan's eyes. Clap, 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 clap. The Eastern Emperor Grand Venerable clapped his hands with a smile on his face. If he could use 300 million to teach his most beloved daughter well, then it would be worth it. "You can't take this 300 million from the Eastern Emperor's account. Father will use his own money to help you. You have to take a good look at who your so-called big brother Yi is, and you have to at least be prepared in your heart. Don't be hurt by a bad person," the Eastern Emperor Grand Venerable said indifferently. Donghuang Xian was overjoyed and quickly said, "Thank you, father, I want to go to Longyang City. Either you want 300 million or you go to Dragon Sun City. Choose one of the two. Do as you see fit." The Eastern Emperor Great Venerable said in a deep voice. When the Donghuang immortal saw that her father's expression was somewhat stern, she did not dare to act recklessly. She wanted to help Yi Qinghan, so naturally, she could not be willful. She could only raise her hands and surrender, saying, "I won't go. Please send the money to Longyang City, as soon as possible." The Eastern Emperor Grand Venerable released the Dragon Princess's jade-like arm and brought the Donghuang immortal directly to the Donghuang family's finance department. He asked the finance elder of the Eastern Emperor clan to inform the capital's branch to transfer 300 million to Longyang City, and then he took out his own 300 million to fill the hole. The news from the Eastern Emperor clan was quickly transmitted to the capital's branch. It only took about 10 days for the news to reach them. The Eastern Emperor's branch in the capital quickly transferred 300 million to Longyang City. At this time, the 30 million borrowed by Li Peiza had already been sent to Longyang City. Longyang handed out all the money he owed in front of everyone. However, Yi Qinghan directly did not want this group of sky immortal stage miners. This group of people were not professional miners, so rather than wasting money on them, it was better to hire professional miners at a high price. Mining masters were very good at eating. This kind of person could only be found in the mercenary hall, because not every city had such a professional expert. Yi Qinghan and Li Peiza directly skipped Longyang and went straight to the mercenary hall of Longyang City. They announced the employment of a high-level mining master. A Sky Immortal Stage mining master's annual salary was over 1.5 million, and a Xian Immortal Stage mining master's annual salary was over 8 million. After this news was released, many mining masters in the city were immediately moved. There were also mining masters in Longyang City, but Longyang couldn't bear to part with the money. He had never thought of finding a professional mining master, because he couldn't afford to pay. In less than a day, a Sky Immortal Stage mining master came to the Li family's immortal treasure shop. Yi Qinghan and Li Peiza had a simple understanding of mining. They could see that he had some understanding of mining, so they asked him to stay and arranged for him to stay. These days, Li Peiza and Yi Qinghan were more nervous than anyone else. They had already invested 30 million, and with the addition of the 20 million dead debt, it was equivalent to 50 million celestial coins. If the Eastern Emperor could not transfer 300 million to help, it would be like drawing water with a bamboo basket. Whether it was Yi Qinghan or Li Peiza, they could not afford to lose. There was still no news from the Eastern Emperor, but what they did not know was that the Eastern Emperor's branch in the capital had already started transferring funds over. Recently, Longyang was much more relaxed. Li Peiza and Yi Qinghan had already agreed to invest and signed a contract. If Yi Qinghan could not get 300 million, then Li Peiza's 50 million would be wasted. Longyang would not have to return it. Yi Qinghan returned to the Qian family and looked seriously at the young children of the Qian family, who were bitterly cultivating. There were less than 800 elites left, but their combat strength had increased by several times. Half of the 800 elites had advanced by a small realm, and a few of them had advanced by 2 or 3 small realms. Qian Shuozhong's advancement speed was not fast. During this period of time, he had been trained by Yi Qinghan to the point of insanity. His physical body had advanced by leaps and bounds, and his understanding of immortal techniques had also broken through a lot. However, his overall realm was still at the mid-stage of the Earth Immortal Stage, but his combat strength had increased by at least 50 times. Yi Qinghan did not praise or punish Qian Shuozhong. It was as if Qian Shuozhong had just passed the test. This made Qian Shuozhong extremely depressed. He did not know how to satisfy Yi Qinghan. Time slowly passed and Yi Qinghan grew increasingly restless. He vented all the fury within him on the training exercise. In just 10 days, all 800 elite cultivators were forced to the ground. Many of the earthen immortals were forced to the point of tears. As a result, over 200 of them were eliminated. Everyone had whip marks on their bodies. It was a ghastly sight. Even Qian Shuozhong was covered in wounds. This was the real hellish training. Those who were eliminated were gloating, but they did not know that the future achievements of this group of elites would be beyond their reach. The remaining 500 people were listless every day. They did not even have the strength to walk. Although the Qian family had provided them with countless resources, it could not make up for their consumption. Time passed quickly. On this day, Yi Qinghan was training this group of elites out of boredom. 6 middle-aged experts came to the door of the Qian family. Every one of them was not inferior to Yi Qinghan. They were all experts at the peak of the heaven immortal stage from the older generation. They presented a mystic immortal grade immortal ring with 300 million in it. Not a single one was missing. Yi Qinghan took the immortal ring. He was so excited that his face turned red. He wanted to shout a few times to vent his emotions. The 6 middle-aged experts only confirmed Yi Qinghan's identity. They did not say anything and then left. It was as if they were not interested in Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan was still very grateful to Dongguang Immortal. He played with the immortal ring and said softly, "Don't worry, I will not disappoint you. When I get back the funds, I will pay you back double." Chapter 23:57. Yi Qinghan immediately went to find Li Peiza after receiving the 300 million. Li Peiza was currently entertaining a few heavenly immortal mind masters. During this period of time, a total of 8 mind masters had come. None of them were mystic immortal mind masters. After all, mystic immortal mind masters weren't interested in minds of this grade. What they liked were mystic immortal mind masters. Yi Qinghan arrived at the immortal treasure store and went to a private room with Li Peiza. He took out the immortal ring and placed it on the table. He said softly, "I've received the 300 million. This time we've invested a lot. If we suffer a loss, we'll be stuck in a quagmire, and it might even affect our entire lives." Li Peiza was instantly overjoyed. During this period of time, he was the one who was most worried about himself. He was the only one who invested 30 million and 20 million. If Yi Qinghan couldn't get the 300 million, then his 50 million would be thrown into the water. "I understand. I'm more cautious than anyone else. Overall, we're taking 60% of the profit. You're taking 5%, I'm taking 5%, and Long Yang is only taking 30%. Once the mining is successful, Long Yang won't gain any advantage. Instead, we'll gain a huge advantage. So I feel that this risk is worth it," Li Peiza said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan nodded. His fingertips rubbed against the marble table. His eyes shone brightly and he said softly, "Actually, I don't plan to sell the Xian Immortal Steel directly. Instead, I plan to sell the completed Xian Immortal Grade Immortal Equipment. This way, our profits won't be a few 100 million, but a few billion." Li Peiza's pupils constricted. He then shook his head and reminded, "Brother Yi, since we've reached this step, I have to remind you that this step is even more dangerous. Xian Immortal Grade Immortal Equipment isn't that easy to refine. It requires a Xian Immortal Grade Equipment refiner. Even Long Yang can't do this. We also can't afford to hire a Xian Immortal Grade Equipment refiner. Even if we can hire a Xian Immortal Grade Equipment refiner, we'll suffer a huge loss if he wastes too many materials." Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and said in a serious voice, "Actually, I'm an equipment refiner myself, but I just haven't attained the mysterious immortal realm. What I need is the skill, technique, and experience of equipment refinement of equipment refiners at the mysterious immortal realm. So long as I possess all of this, I'll be able to refine mysterious immortal artifacts." Li Peiza was silent for a long time, but he did not give Yi Qinghan a definite answer. It was too risky. Yi Qinghan also knew that he had to work with Li Peiza in order to carry out his plan. Otherwise, if he failed, he would be consigned to eternal damnation. The huge amount of debt he owed would suffocate him. Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and stood up. "We'll talk about this later. Let's first inform Sun Dragon to open the mine. In the distant eastern divine region, within the grand venerable palace of the Eastern Emperor. The Eastern Emperor Super Venerable sat majestically in the Great Hall, looking down at a middle-aged man in the Great Hall, and asked in a deep voice, Is this Yi Qinghan's identity and background clear? Also, what does he want this 300 million for? Reporting to the Duke, this Yi Qinghan is a small figure who came out of the Sikong Greedy Wolf Great World. Because he offended the ultimate peak mountain in the early stages, he gave up on his physical body and fled to the immortal world. However, this person's combat strength is indeed a bit exaggerated. A few months ago, he relied on 3 Xian immortal-grade immortal artifacts to beat Xiao Er, who was on the heaven ranking, to the point where he had to flee. The middle-aged man quickly replied. The Eastern Emperor Grand Exalt raised his eyebrows. Clearly, he was slightly surprised as well. However, according to Dong Wang Zhengtai's description, this person had relied on 3 profound immortal artifacts to defeat a profound immortal realm expert. Even though both sides were injured and were at a disadvantage, it was enough to determine that Yi Qinghan's strength wasn't ordinary. What did he use the 300 million for? The Eastern Emperor Super Venerable was very curious. Yi Qinghan had rejected the invitation of the Eastern Emperor Immortal, and now he wanted 300 million. Could it be that he really wanted more? Duke, the manager of the capital's branch, directly asked the city lord of the Dragon Sun City. I heard that Yi Qinghan wants to open a mine, a Xianmu immortal steel mid-grade mine. The middle-aged man bowed again and replied. The Eastern Emperor Super Venerable was expressionless as he waved his hand and said, I understand. You can leave now. Don't tell Siener about this. In the future, you are not allowed to spread any news about Yi Qinghan to Siener's ears. Yes, Duke. The middle-aged man bowed and left. The Eastern Emperor Super Venerable was investigating Yi Qinghan, but Yi Qinghan did not notice anything. Instead, he, Li Peiza, and Long Yang brought 8 mining masters and more than 300 Sky Immortal stage miners to the Xianmu Immortal Steel Mine in the southeast. In order to save money and costs, I suggest that the 3 of us participate in the mining, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. At this moment, Long Yang no longer dared to have any thoughts about Yi Qinghan. After all, there weren't many people who could get 300 million from the Eastern Emperor Immortal. No matter what Yi Qinghan said, he was not willing to refute, and even raised his hands in agreement. This old man has no problem with it. If my 2 nephews can endure this hardship, how can an old man like me just stand by and watch? Long Yang said with a smile. His words gradually drew the relationship between him and Yi Qinghan closer. It was obvious that he wanted to use Yi Qinghan to climb up the Eastern Emperor's branch. Yi Qinghan and Li Peiza did not have a good impression of Long Yang. If not for the cooperation this time, the 2 of them would not even want to have anything to do with him. The 8 mining masters were investigating the cave. They had professional mining skills, which was something that Yi Qinghan, Long Yang, and Li Peiza did not understand. As the saying goes, there are specializations in the field, and it was impossible for powerful people to understand everything, but these mining masters did. They knocked on the cave, constantly searching for the entrance to the mine. As long as they found that point, they could quickly mine the mine around that point. At this time, Yi Qinghan and the others were free. At this moment, they were powerless and could only wait silently. Time passed little by little. Many people held torches and followed the 8 mining masters, searching separately. There were several mining masters who shouted excitedly, but in the end, they still could not find the entrance to the mine. Yi Qinghan was not in a hurry. He was also silently searching. The little divine bird and the little fox immortal were also released. These days they had been bored to death. As soon as the divine bird entered the mysterious Mother Immortal Steel Mine, it felt a very special aura. It was very excited, but the difficulty of mining the mine was beyond imagination. It could only stare helplessly. Among this group of mining masters, there was one who had a very strong prestige. Even the other 7 mining masters recognized him. At this moment, they were gathered together, studying a stone wall, constantly knocking and trying to figure out. Fellow Taoists, this old man has been mining the mine for countless years. I think this may be the entrance. Why don't you give it a try? The old man with the strongest prestige was over 60 years old. His hair was white, and perhaps because he lived in the mine for a long time, his skin was a little frightening. His voice was hoarse, and it should be that his vocal cords were ruined. Yi Qinghan looked in the direction of the voice. He found that this area was formed by some stalactite. Gently knocking on it, an ancient bell sound reverberated. However, there was a concave wall beside the stalactites. The rock was very thick, but the mysterious Mother Immortal Qi was the densest. Perhaps it really was the entrance. Elder Su, I also feel that this place is a little strange. We can try mining. After all, no one can find the entrance in one go. Everyone echoed. Yi Qinghan, Long Yang, and Li Peiza stepped into the area together. After carefully speculating, they all nodded in agreement. Chapter 23:58. When mining masters looked for a breakthrough point, they all had specialized equipment. This equipment was very expensive, and even the most inferior one cost more than $1 million. It could easily extract ore, but it was also very easy to damage, so finding a breakthrough point was very costly. Yi Qinghan and the others nodded in agreement, which meant that they had to bear the cost of mining equipment. This was something that they were well aware of. The leading old mining master took out a drill-like equipment. As long as some immortal spiritual energy was imbued into the spiral-shaped drill, it could easily penetrate the outer rocks. Buzz! Boom! Whoosh! The hard rock actually crumbled quickly. This mountain, which even the Frost War spear could not penetrate, had now become a decaying object. The spiral-shaped drill slowly changed shape, and the mystic Mother Aura became denser. Pure immortal spiritual energy rushed out of the mountain, and the experts in the cave were shocked. This should be the breakthrough point, but we don't know how many layers of rock we have to break through to reach the real mine, the leading old mining master said excitedly. Long Yang took a deep breath. For so many years, he had been saving money and did not want to hire a mining master, nor did he want to use this kind of mining equipment. He did not expect that mining would still need professionals to do it, and he had wasted hundreds of millions of funds, and in the end, only managed to extract some low-grade mystic Mother Immortal steel. Bang! A muffled sound reverberated in the cave, and everyone was immediately overjoyed. They thought that they had mined the mystic Mother Immortal steel vein, but unexpectedly, the mining equipment had been directly broken by the inner rocks of the mountain. Sigh, the spiral-shaped drill worth 3 million is broken. The few mining masters were somewhat helpless. The real mystic Mother Immortal steel vein had not been found, and they had already thrown 3 million into it. Yi Qinghan's brows did not move. He looked at the hole that was about 3 meters in diameter, and asked seriously, "What grade is the stone here? How thick is it?" The old mining master stood in the depths of the hole and carefully touched the solid object in the hole. It was pure white and smooth and completely a hole. If they wanted to go deeper, they had to first break through the stone wall. He said, "Three lords, this is a Yang Jade diamond, which is also a mystic immortal grade item. This item is also very valuable, but it is very difficult to cut it and take it out completely." "You don't have to take it out completely. Break up all the surrounding rocks and then cut this Yang Jade diamond," Yi Qinghan said calmly. Long Yang couldn't help but smile bitterly. It seemed like Yi Qinghan really didn't know anything about Xian, immortal grade materials. If he wanted to refine this thing, he would need at least a Xian, immortal grade tool refiner to refine it for several months or even years. Whether it was Long Yang or Yi Qinghan, it was impossible for them to cut the Yang diamond. That mining master was stunned as well. He never imagined that Yi Qinghan would actually make such an idiotic suggestion. But when he saw Yi Qinghan's calm expression, He figured that Yi Qinghan didn't know about mysterious immortal-grade materials, so he reminded Yi Qinghan. We're unable to penetrate the Yang Jade Adamantine, so we have to find the mystic immortal steel vein from another path. Yi Qinghan looked at Li Peiza and Long Yang and found that they were nodding in agreement. He couldn't help but feel a little embarrassed. At this moment, Li Peiza's forehead was already covered in cold sweat. They hadn't even seen anything yet, and they had already lost 3 million. If this continued, how much money would it take to open up the mystic immortal steel vein? Then let's find another path. Yi Qinghan curled his lips and shook his head. Every mining master had a spiral drill on them. It was just a matter of quality, but most of them were inferior to this old man's spiral drill. They once again joined forces to search, continuously probing several entry points, but in the end they all failed. They didn't have to use spiral drills everywhere, but even so, they still broke 12 spiral drills in a day, which was worth more than 20 million celestial coins. Yi Qinghan watched as they searched day and night for entry points. At this moment, he was more nervous than anyone else. He clenched his fists tightly, and his eyes flashed with a sharp light, afraid that he would miss a single detail. There were torches everywhere in the dark mine, illuminating the pitch-black mine. Suddenly, an excited scream rang out. It was a relatively young mining master. He found a tiny crack, and if one didn't look carefully, they wouldn't have noticed it. The size of the crack was as thin as a piece of paper, but there was a thick mystic immortal aura coming from it. The immortal dragon aura even took the initiative to rush into people's bodies. It's here. We can definitely find the mystic immortal steel vein here. Once we open up this place, we can mine the mystic immortal steel without restraint. Several mining masters said solemnly. Boom, boom, boom. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 2 spiral drills began to work at the same time, quickly piercing through the outer layer of rock. A large hole appeared in front of them, and it was even darker inside. Soon, about 10 meters into the hole, the material inside suddenly loosened, and the mining master immediately stopped the drill. We've entered the mountain, ha ha ha. Inside is the mystic immortal steel vein. The rock inside is softer, so it's easier to mine. The leading mining master quickly put away the spiral drill and took out a mining tool similar to a shovel. He constantly shoveled away the rocks and soil, and soon found a fist-sized piece of mystic immortal steel. It was definitely a middle-grade mystic immortal steel, and its density was unimaginable. Come, come, come. Everyone at the entrance of the cave, get all the soil and rocks out. Long Yang excitedly commanded those consecrators. Ordinary immortal rings were unable to absorb the mystic immortal steel. Only Yi Qinghan and Long Yang's mystic immortal-grade immortal rings were able to take away the mystic immortal steel. These mystic immortal steel were mostly in the form of granules. They were as big as rocks and as small as a fingernail. Their density was different from ordinary rocks and sand. No one could hide it, and no one dared to hide it. Soon, a large hole was opened up inside. 10 people were responsible for moving the rocks and soil away, while the others were responsible for mining. However, they were strictly following the mining master's instructions. Otherwise, once it collapsed, the density and weight of the rocks outside would be enough to crush the body of an immortal heaven immortal, and even his soul might not be able to escape. Yi Qinghan and Long Yang were responsible for collecting the mystic immortal steel, regardless of whether it was low-grade or middle-grade. After all, its value was too great. Li Peiza was wild with joy. His 50 million was finally settled. A large amount of unearthed mystic immortal steel could reflect the value of this mine. This mine would definitely not be a problem to recoup its cost. Now it was just a matter of how much profit they could get. Li Peiza also participated in the mining. The huge mountain range was boundless. It formed more than 10 tunnels that intersected with each other. Each tunnel was full of potholes. How much each mining master could get was completely dependent on how much mystic immortal steel they found. It was divided according to the grade and quantity, which increased everyone's enthusiasm. This group of people worked hard day and night. There was no time in the cave, day and night were the same. If it was not for the illumination of the torches, they would not be able to see what was 1 meter away. Yi Qinghan, Long Yang, Little Fox Immortal, and the Divine Bird were in charge of supervising. They were also afraid that someone would embezzle the mystic immortal steel. After all, a fist-sized piece of middle-grade mystic immortal steel was worth 1,000,000 celestial coins. In just a few days, this group of people had collected more than 3,000 pieces of mystic immortal steel. However, half of them were low-grade mystic immortal steel, and the rest were very small pieces of mystic immortal steel. The total value was not as exaggerated as they thought. However, Long Yang, Yi Qinghan, and the others were smiling. At this time, Long Yang crossed his hands and rubbed the soil that was injured. He smiled and said, "Nephew Yi, I have offended you in the beginning. Please don't be angry. Now we are in need of people. I wonder if you can release the cat demon first?" Yi Qinghan licked his teeth and released the cat demon. However, he transferred a strand of his soul into the cat demon's sea of consciousness. As long as the cat demon dared to act recklessly, it would be instantly killed by him. Chapter 23:59. The cat demon was released, but she only had half of her life left. Her legs were weak, and she did not even dare to look at Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan coldly glanced at her and said, "Cat demon, I'm in a good mood today. I'll give you a chance to live. You'll be in charge of supervising. If you do well, I'll spare your life. If you don't do well, no one will be able to protect you." The cat demon trembled and said in a trembling voice, "Thank you, Immortal, for sparing my life." Long Yang's face was gloomy. He could feel the cat demon's dissatisfaction and resentment towards him. This Yi Qinghan was not easy to deal with. It was obvious that he was trying to sow discord between him and the cat demon. Yi Qinghan naturally did not want the cat demon to be used by Long Yang. Even though they were master and servant, it was not difficult to destroy their relationship. "Long Yang City Lord, I'll have to trouble you to remove the master and servant contract with her. I need to ensure my own safety during this period of time, so I want to sign a contract with her. When the mine is finished, I'll naturally return her to you," Yi Qinghan said calmly. Long Yang naturally would not offend a young man who could talk to the East Imperial family for a cat demon slave. Even though he was extremely unhappy, he still had a smile on his face. He even said with some joy, "If Nephew Yi likes it, I'll give this cat demon to you. She can be a female slave. Her ability to serve people is not any worse than Little Fox Immortal." Yi Qinghan did not refuse. He nodded and said, "Then I'll have to thank Long Yang City Lord." The cat demon did not have the qualifications to say anything. Seeing Long Yang remove the contract, her heart relaxed. A group of people were still desperately mining. This mine not only had mysterious immortal steel, but also other celestial immortal grade materials. Even though the value was not high, but if the quantity was high, it could be sold for millions of celestial coins. Yi Qinghan was like a goose that plucked feathers. Even a mosquito's leg was meat, so he collected them all. The mining inside was very skillful. By mining in a spiral shape, the mountains above would not collapse, and the profound mother immortal steel and other resources could be extracted to the greatest extent. After mining for about half a year, Yi Qinghan and Long Yang did not know how many profound immortal steel and heavenly immortal grade materials they had collected. However, as the mining continued, the hole inside grew bigger and bigger. The cost of mining the entire vein was too high. The number of people needed to mine it had also increased by several times or even 10 times. In just half a year, more than half of the 300 million had been spent. There was less than 100 million left. Just the spiral drills alone had cost nearly 100 million. The rest of the 100 million was the salaries of the consecrated and the miners. With less than 100 million left, if he wanted to continue mining, he would need to have the money to make a profit. Otherwise, he would have to stop. Long Yang, Li Peiza, and Yi Qinghan came out of the mine and sat on a rock outside to discuss. Long Yang and Li Peiza were leaning towards selling the profound Mother Immortal Steel. However, Yi Qinghan was leaning towards other methods, because he was not willing to sell the profound Mother Immortal Steel. Even though the price of pure profound Mother Immortal Steel was very high, once it was refined into a profound immortal grade immortal equipment, the profits would increase by 10 times. I would rather stop mining than sell these resources, Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. Long Yang could not understand and asked, Nephew Yi, why are you doing this? Isn't mining the profound Mother Immortal Steel for money? If you don't agree to sell, could it be that you want to keep it in your hands? Long Yang was afraid of being poor. He wanted to sell the resources now and see the money. Therefore, he tried his best to persuade Yi Qinghan to consolidate the resources and sell them. Li Peiza took a deep breath. He knew what Yi Qinghan wanted to do. He felt that it was too risky. It would be easy to waste a lot of profound Mother Immortal Steel. Those were all money. One piece was worth 1 million or even a few million immortal coins. Besides profound immortal grade blacksmiths, who would dare to use the profound Mother Immortal Steel as a joke. How about this? We will consolidate the resources first. Then, we will distribute the resources according to our previous discussion. If you want to sell, then sell it first and use your money to continue mining. As for my portion, I don't want to sell it for now. But in the future, I will return the portion that you invested, Yi Qinghan said firmly. Li Peiza and Long Yang could not persuade Yi Qinghan. They could only distribute the resources first and then distribute them. There were only 2 profound immortal grade immortal rings. Li Peiza also did not have a profound immortal grade immortal ring. Therefore, all the resources were given to Long Yang and Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan took out all the profound Mother Immortal Steel. 10% of them were intermediate grade and 90% of them were low grade. He did not see any high-grade profound Mother Immortal Steel. Long Yang also took out the profound Mother Immortal Steel that he had collected over the past few days. There was a total of over 100,000 pieces. However, there were not many fist-sized intermediate-grade profound Mother Immortal Steel. They only took up a quarter of the total. After the 3 of them had finished organizing all these resources, they did some calculations. The mid-grade Mystic Mother, which was the size of a fist and above, was about 2,700 pieces. The Celestial Nation Consecrator had 10%, which was about 270 pieces. Excluding these, Yi Qinghan had 4.5%, which was about 1,200 pieces. Yi Qinghan did not hesitate to store this portion of resources. Li Peiza obtained slightly more than 400 pieces. The rest belonged to Long Yang, which was about 800 pieces. Every fist-sized profound Mother Immortal Steel was worth about 1 million immortal coins. Yi Qinghan had 1,200 pieces, which was about 1.2 billion immortal coins. After deducting the cost of 300 million immortal coins, they had a net profit of 900 million immortal coins. However, it was obvious that the mining in the mine was not complete. In fact, it was only 2/3 complete. If Li Peiza were to sell it, he would be able to obtain 400 million immortal coins. Moreover, there was still a lot of low-grade profound Mother Immortal Steel. There were at least 2 billion jin of low-grade profound Mother Immortal Steel. This was worth 2 billion immortal coins. Even if he could get 15%, he would still have 300 million immortal coins. His profits had already exceeded his previous plan. As for those small intermediate-grade profound Mother Immortal Steel, their prices were not high. Preliminary calculations showed that they were worth a few 100 million immortal coins. After deducting the immortal empire consecrator, each of them would only get a few tens of millions. It was not considered much at all. After the three of them finished dividing, their faces were filled with excitement. The profits this time had far exceeded their expectations. However, with so much, it was impossible to sell them all at once. The price would drop a little, but overall, everyone would make a huge profit. At most, they would earn about 100 million immortal coins. The three of them did not speak much. After distributing all the resources, Yi Qinghan made a preliminary calculation. Even if they sold them at a lower price, they would still be able to make a net profit of 7 to 1. 8 billion immortal coins. Huff. Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and clenched his fists. His taste was very big. This was an opportunity given by the heavens. If he could refine these profound mother immortal steel into profound immortal grade immortal artifacts, he would at least be able to earn 10 billion immortal coins. If I miss this opportunity, it might be as difficult as ascending to the heavens for me to earn so much again. Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed as he carefully pondered. If he wanted to learn profound immortal grade refining techniques, he would have to sell a portion of the profound mother immortal steel. Otherwise, where would he go to buy these refining techniques? The three of them had their own calculations. This time, they could be considered as nouveau riche. If they could earn so much in one go, the Dragon Sun Manor would be able to tide over this crisis. Naturally, Lipeza would be able to make a considerable profit. They began to plan how to sell the resources and how to use this money. Just as the three of them were still thinking, a little snow fox suddenly rushed out of the cave. It was Yi Qinghan's immortal pet. Whoosh, whoosh. The little snow fox quickly rushed to Yi Qinghan's side and transformed into its human form. It whispered into his ear, "There's a treasure inside." Chapter 2360. Little Fox Immortal's words made Yi Qinghan, who was already in a state of excitement, suddenly jump up like he was injected with chicken blood. "What treasure?" Yi Qinghan jumped 3 feet high and asked loudly. In a split second, Lipeza and Long Yang also stood up and looked at Little Fox Immortal with a face full of expectation. Little Fox Immortal said shyly, "I also don't know, no one inside knows what it is, but the divine bird said it is a good treasure." Yi Qinghan's eyes flashed and asked in surprise, "The miners have been mining for so many years, how can they not know what they find in the mine? Let's go in and take a look, maybe it is some rare treasure." Lipeza and Long Yang were both excited and rushed into the mine. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan also rushed in. Now the mine was in disorder, there were passages everywhere. People who were not familiar with this place might not be able to find the way out even after a few months. The three of them and Little Fox Immortal continued to go deeper, at least dozens of turns. Before reaching the depths, they found a pile of mysterious mother immortal steel. Although there were only a few pieces of large middle grade, the value was not cheap. But the group of people were not mining now, instead they gathered together and discussed. A stone similar to the size of a fist, it was transparent, filled with mysterious mother and immortal chi. It was so rich that it made people feel like they would explode if they got close to it. Everyone stayed far away from it, only the divine bird was lying beside it. No one knew what this thing was, including these miners. Yi Qinghan, Lipeza and Long Yang pushed through the crowd and directly came to the side of the milky white stone. It felt like a jade stone, but also like a special milky white stone condensed from stalactites, but the energy it contained was somewhat immeasurable. Yi Qinghan did not recognize this thing. He could not help but look at Long Yang and Lipeza. One of them was a mysterious immortal city lord, the other was a young master of a wealthy Li family. They were experienced and knowledgeable, they definitely knew this thing. But the two of them also had a confused face, they did not know what this thing was. What is this thing? How come I have never heard of such a thing? Li Peiza said to himself in surprise. Long Yang also shook his head. He had no idea how much this thing was worth. Yi Qinghan curiously reached out his hand to take the stone, but when he touched it, his soul felt like it was going to explode. The majestic Xian Mu aura and immortal qi were like sharp blades that almost cut his soul into pieces. Ah, whoosh! Yi Qinghan immediately threw the stone away. His face was pale and he took a few steps back in fright. Whoosh! The divine bird actually stretched out its claws and wings and directly hugged him, but it was completely fine. F***ck. This is a treasure, what if it's broken? The god bird hugged the jade and sat down on the ground with a pained look on its face. It was as if it had received some incredible treasure. Li Peiza and Long Yang asked in surprise, "What's going on? Why are you reacting so strongly?" Yi Qinghan had a lingering fear as his soul undulated. He whispered, "This thing almost destroyed my soul. Divine bird, don't you feel it?" The divine bird looked proud and said disdainfully, "Treasures belong to those who are fated. This thing was found by me, so naturally, only I can take it." Li Peiza smiled. He did not expect the divine bird to be so interesting. He said teasingly, "If I can't take it, as long as the Longyang city lord agrees, this stone will be given to you." Long Yang hesitated for a moment. This thing looked very valuable. It was something that even Yi Qinghan did not dare to touch. If he gave it to the divine bird, it would definitely be unwilling. But thinking about it carefully, he was a Xian immortal. How could he not even touch a stone? Long Yang pondered for a moment and said, "If I can't touch this stone, it means that I am not fated. Giving it to this divine bird, I have no objections." When the divine bird heard this, its eyes flashed and it asked excitedly, "Are you serious?" Yi Qinghan snorted and said, "The Longyang city lord and brother Li are true to their words. Why would they lie to you? Why don't you open it and let the two of you take a good look? Maybe you can find out its origin." The divine bird immediately opened its wings and placed the fist-sized round stone in front of it. It took half a step back carefully, as if it was afraid that they would throw the stone away. "Be careful. Don't break my treasure," the divine bird said seriously. Li Peiza smiled and squatted down. He did not try to pick up the round stone. Instead, he reached out and touched the milky white round stone. A tearing pain hit his soul. His strong body could not protect his soul. He could not help but withdraw his hand and almost fell to the ground. This was not a cold air, but a real attack. It ignored the physical body and defense, and attacked the soul directly. What is this? How can it attack my soul directly? Li Peiza sucked in a breath of cold air. He realized that his immortal weapon was trembling violently, as if it was very afraid of this round stone. Long Yang refused to believe it. He even unleashed his dragon's might and dragon's bloodline to protect his soul. His hand, which was covered in dragon scales, reached out to grab the round stone. However, a sharp aura, which seemed to have come from an immortal weapon or an immortal spiritual energy, directly pierced through the dragon's scales and swept into his soul like breaking dried twigs. "Ah!" Longyang screamed and fell more than 10 meters away. His entire right arm was torn open and blood stained the gravel. The miners all sucked in a breath of cold air. They could not understand the origin of this stone. "Don't tell me this is a natural immortal artifact?" one of the mining masters murmured. Yi Qinghan stared at the round stone in front of the divine bird. He was not sure. It was possible that this thing was an immortal weapon that attacked the soul. However, it might not be an offensive immortal weapon. It could also be an attack caused by the energy inside the round stone. That's strange. Why didn't it attack the divine bird? Yi Qinghan asked in surprise. This group of miners had obviously tried before. No one could touch this stone. Indeed, only the divine bird could get close to it and not be attacked by it. Ha ha! Because this divine bird is immortal Emperor Zhen Ming. Even these natural things are not willing to hurt me, the divine bird said proudly. Long Yang and Li Pei's expressions were a bit strange. This thing was definitely priceless. Were they really going to give it to the divine bird? Li Pei was fine, but Long Yang was already regretting his words. The divine bird did not give him a chance to change his mind. It said directly, "This treasure is now mine. None of you can have any ideas about it. Remember what you said before. Also, consider your status. Don't be a villain who goes back on his words." Cough cough, Yi Qinghan coughed and scolded. "Don't be rude to Longyang City Lord and brotherly. Who are they? Why would they cheat a little spirit pet like you?" Longyang's mouth twitched. He did not know how to ask for the stone. Chapter 2361. Long Yang's intestines turned green with regret. If this thing was sold outside, it would be worth at least 100 million celestial coins. Was he really going to give it to the divine bird now? Yi Qinghan's words made him speechless. It was obvious that Yi Qinghan also wanted this stone. Li Pei smiled. He had made a lot of money this time. 20 million dead debt plus 30 million in investment. He had made a net profit of several hundred million. Losing 20 million was not a big deal. Moreover, he did not want to offend Yi Qinghan, so he kept quiet. Yi Qinghan saw that Long Yang's expression was not good, so he said, "How about this? We don't know what this thing is. Although the divine bird and it are fated, I can't take advantage of you. The next time we distribute the resources, I will take 50 less pieces of medium-grade Xianmu. How about it?" 50 pieces was equivalent to 50 million celestial coins. Long Yang could get more than 30 million celestial coins. If he sold this round stone, even if he could sell it for 100 million, he would only get 30 million celestial coins. Long Yang thought for a moment. He did not want to offend Yi Qinghan, so he said with a smile, "Nephew Yi, if this old man does not agree, then I will not know how to appreciate favors. Let's do as Nephew Yi says." The divine bird immediately felt better. Yi Qinghan spent 50 million in one go for it. This was unprecedented. "Boss, I know you treat me the best," the divine bird said flatteringly. Yi Qinghan tilted his head and looked at the divine bird and the round stone in its arms. He said lightly, "Bring this stone out. I want to ask you something." "Hua!" Yi Qinghan turned and left. The divine bird hugged the round stone and followed Yi Qinghan out of the mine. Outside the mine, Yi Qinghan sat on a rock and looked around. There was no one around. Long Yang and the others did not follow them out. The divine bird hugged the round stone. It was crazier than hugging a little money grubber. Its eyes flashed and it wanted to swallow the round stone. "What is this? Don't let me suffer a loss. I've spent 50 million in one go. If I sell it, I'll get tens of millions. In total, I've lost hundreds of millions," Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. The divine bird rolled its eyes and said in confusion, "How would I know what this is? I think it's a treasure. Besides, you've earned more than 1 billion this time. Do you still need 50 million? Wastrel." Yi Qinghan's breathing stagnated. It seemed like this guy did not care about money at all. "Then tell me, is this thing a natural soul-type offensive immortal artifact or something similar to spirit stones?" Yi Qinghan stared at this item and extended his hand, wanting to use his Xian immortal-grade immortal ring to absorb it. However, he actually failed. This item's grade was probably higher than the Xian immortal grade. This time, Yi Qinghan was even more shocked. The divine bird stared at the gemstone in confusion. After a long time, it shook its head and said, "I don't know. Let me try to absorb it into my body." The divine bird forced out a drop of blood essence and dripped it onto the gemstone. The blood essence was instantly sucked away. The gemstone only shone slightly and did not have any reaction after that. It could not absorb it into its body, and no one else could touch it. The divine bird could not help but feel helpless. Could it be that it had to keep hugging it? Although it was not heavy, the divine bird was not big either. Hugging it was too much of a hindrance. It could not even fly. Yi Qinghan took out a piece of black cloth and threw it on the ground. He said indifferently, "Put it on the black cloth. I'll wrap it up and tie it to your body. Anyway, don't expect me to hold it." The divine bird hugged the gemstone and placed it on the black cloth. Yi Qinghan quickly tied it up and tied it to the divine bird's back. It looked like a small ostrich. It was very comical. "Wait till I refine this gem. Hee, who will be able to withstand my soul attack?" The divine bird said arrogantly. "Tsk," Yi Qinghan laughed disdainfully. Then, he brought the divine bird back into the mine. The salary was distributed every day. As the number of miners increased, the less than 100 million in funds was reduced in less than 2 months. Next, they would either stop working or sell the xianmu to raise funds. Yi Qinghan was definitely not willing to sell his own xianmu. Li Peiza was very enthusiastic. He also wanted to sell the resources. After all, he still owed someone 30 million. His family was in urgent need of money. Long Yang and Li Peiza left the mine and prepared to sell a portion of the resources. In the mine, only Yi Qinghan was patrolling the mine. Little Fox Immortal and Cat Demon assisted him. The divine bird was like a victorious rooster. It carried the gemstone and walked around. In 7 months, the mountain range was almost emptied. Finally, they dug up the huge Yang Jade diamond. It was not broken or uneven. In fact, it was a flat and neat Yang Jade diamond slate. It was 10 centimeters wide and dozens of feet high. It was at least 300 meters long. Such a slate could not be cut and could not be transported out. It stood in the mine and reached the top. Yi Qinghan looked at the Yang Jade diamond slate. His big hand touched the Yang Jade diamond slate. He found that the outside was cold and the xianmu aura was very rich. "I wonder who can tell me why this Yang Jade diamond slate's attribute is cold. It should be called Yang Jade diamond slate." Yi Qinghan looked at the mining masters and asked curiously. The old man in the lead was experienced and knowledgeable. He smiled and explained, "Immortal Yi, this Yang Jade diamond slate's internal attribute is extreme yang. The reason why it's cold on the outside is because it has been affected by the cold air in the xianmu ore. This is a mutated Yang Jade diamond slate." Yi Qinghan raised his eyebrows and asked, "If it's a mutated Yang Jade diamond slate, is it still valuable? If it's not a mutated one, how much can such a large diamond slate be sold for?" This kind of Yang Jade diamond slate is deeply loved by some experts of the rich and powerful families. They use it to build a seclusion area or a cultivation ground. Ordinary Xian immortal experts can't break through it, so it's very expensive. Such a large piece of Yang Jade diamond slate can be sold for at least a few 100 million celestial coins. However, this is a mutated one, so the price might be higher or lower. The key is that this diamond slate is too big. It's impossible to transport it out. Once it's broken, the price will be greatly reduced. The old man replied. The Yang Jade diamond slate's grade was too high. With Yi Qinghan's immortal ring, it was impossible to absorb it. If he wanted to transport it out, he would have to cut open this mountain. This was an extremely huge project. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. He actually couldn't transport this complete Yang Jade diamond slate away in a short period of time. He also couldn't bear to break this complete Yang Jade diamond slate and transport it out. That way, the price would be reduced by more than half. Let's not care about this Yang Jade for now. Continue to excavate the xianmu immortal steel. Long Yang City Lord and fellow Taoist Li Peiza have already gone out to sell the xianmu immortal steel to prepare funds. Don't worry, everyone will definitely be rewarded. Yi Qinghan said indifferently. This group of people understood Long Yang. In fact, they were still worried about Long Yang. If it wasn't for Li Peiza acting as the middleman, basically no one would be willing to work for Long Yang. Now that the mining of the mine had reached this stage, no one would suspect that Yi Qinghan and the rest would default on their payment. Now, there were at least 1,000 undying heaven immortal experts mining in the mine. Many places had been dug through, and the resources were getting lesser and lesser. For the sake of mining more Xianmu, some people even took the risk to dig deeper into the mountain range. The winding and rugged path flashed, and there were torches everywhere. Suddenly, a hurried sound came from the depths. There were even sounds of fighting. A powerful airflow shook the sand and stones from above. Most people sensed it, and they stopped and leaned against the stone wall, afraid that the mountain would collapse. Chapter 2362. Boom, boom, boom. The mountain continued to shake as huge rocks fell. The miners were so frightened that their faces turned pale. Some of them had already begun to escape from the cave. Yi Qinghan's expression also changed. However, he did not choose to escape from the cave. Instead, he rushed into the cave. Who's fighting inside? Are they crazy? Yi Qinghan roared from afar, hoping that the fighting inside would stop. A shrill scream echoed in the cave. The smell of blood and danger rushed into the countless tunnels. Roar, following that, a strange cry came from the depths. It did not sound like the cry of a beast. At least, there were no creatures nearby that made such a sound. Yi Qinghan suddenly stopped and looked into the dark depths. He could even feel the tremors under his feet. It was very strong. Instantly, a sense of danger shrouded his heart. Everyone, quickly leave the cave. Yi Qinghan roared as his voice spread throughout the cave. Whoosh, whoosh, roar, bang, bang, bang. The strange sound was getting closer. Yi Qinghan quickly determined that the creature inside was a reptilian beast. Its size should be about the same as the tunnels. Some places were narrower, and the mountain rocks had been knocked down by it. It's about 2 meters tall. It's a reptilian beast. Its body is as hard as mystic immortal steel, or even stronger. Its weight is about 5,000 kilograms. Yi Qinghan quickly retreated. At this moment, the cat demon and divine bird rushed out from the other tunnels. Little Fox Immortal was the only one missing. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan reached out and grabbed the divine bird. However, he could not put it into his body because the gem on its back could kill his soul at any time. The cat demon retreated to Yi Qinghan. It looked into the depths of the cave with a vigilant expression. Its body was trembling. It was probably frightened by the bloodline of the creature inside. This also showed that the bloodline of the creature inside was of a high level. It definitely surpassed the cat demon, and could even threaten the bloodline of the heavenly dragon. Yi Qinghan's blood vessels were trembling. His dragon blood was boiling. It was completely stimulated. Crack, crack. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists and waved his hand to take out the sky-swallowing cauldron. He asked in a deep voice, "Where's Little Fox Immortal?" "Exalted Immortal Yi, she came out earlier than me. She should have retreated. The bloodline of the vicious creature inside is very high, and it's very ancient. We shouldn't stay in the cave," the cat demon reminded in fear. Yi Qinghan nodded and quickly dragged the cat demon out. Nearly 1,000 heavenly immortal experts swarmed out, even blocking some of the passageways, greatly increasing the speed of their escape. No crowding. Everyone, step back and leave in an orderly manner. Yi Qinghan shouted angrily from the back. However, the danger was getting closer and closer. The cave was shaking and rocks kept falling, causing the heavenly immortal experts to cover their heads and flee like rats. "Exalted Immortal, I'll transform into my true form to bring you out." Seeing that the passageway ahead was blocked, the cat demon quickly transformed into her true form. She was about 1/2 meter long, just like a cheetah. Yi Qinghan quickly climbed onto the cat demon's back. With a leap, the cat demon could actually run along the uneven walls. Her speed was very fast, and in the blink of an eye, she rushed out of the crowded passageway from the top. Smack, smack. Yi Qinghan patted the cat demon's head and said, "Put me down and help them get out of here." Boom. The cat demon landed, and together with Yi Qinghan, they pulled the trapped crowd out of the cave. The entrance was no longer blocked. Yi Qinghan began to evacuate the crowd. There were screams coming from the back of the cave, and they could even see the scene inside. The bodies of the heavenly immortal experts were eaten, and even their souls did not manage to escape. This vicious creature was not afraid of the attacks of the heavenly immortal experts at all. Fortunately, Yi Qinghan managed to organize the crowd to escape in time. After about half an hour, about 800 people had escaped. The rest had either gone into hiding or were eaten by the vicious creature. Yi Qinghan's eyelids twitched. Together with the cat demon, he blocked the exit with a huge rock. Then, they escaped from the mine together. In the barren mountain range, the group of miners still had lingering fears. They looked at each other until Yi Qinghan came out. They all looked at him with gratitude. If he had not organized the escape, everyone would have died in the cave today. Yi Qinghan nervously clenched his fists and looked at the dark cave. The mountain outside was shaking, and those who had not escaped in the cave would not be able to come out alive. Did anyone see what kind of creature was inside? Yi Qinghan asked in a deep voice. No one spoke, but fear had taken over everyone's hearts. The unknown was the most terrifying. Yi Qinghan looked around and found the little fox immortal. He could not help but breathe a sigh of relief. However, with so many people dead, just the compensation alone would cost a lot of money. Boom. Bang. Just as everyone was at a loss, the sound of a collision caused the mountain to collapse. A strange low roar came from the cave, as if it was very angry. The old mining master shuddered and immediately warned, "We might have awakened some ancient beasts that were hibernating. These creatures are abnormally powerful. In the past, there were also ancient beasts hibernating in some ore veins." In the end, all the miners were devoured. Yi Qinghan's pupils shrank. He did not know what that creature was for now, but he was sure that it was very terrifying. Its strength far exceeded his own. Leave this place quickly. Let's escape into the city first. Yi Qinghan ordered in a deep voice. Hua. When this group of people heard Yi Qinghan's words, they did not even hesitate and immediately fled in the direction of Longyang City. Only the cat demon and the little fox immortal stayed behind. They looked at Yi Qinghan, not knowing what to do. The divine bird could not enter Yi Qinghan's body, so it could only stand on his shoulder and exclaim, "Boss, why aren't you escaping? Are you stupid?" Yi Qinghan glanced at it speechlessly and said in a serious voice, "I have to at least see clearly what this thing is, right? Exalted Immortal, Xiaonu suggests that you retreat to the back of the mountain. If it's something you can't fight against, we'll at least have time to escape." The cat demon turned back into her human form and respectfully suggested. Yi Qinghan turned his head and looked behind him. There was indeed a short mountain, about 20 to 30 meters tall. Standing on the mountain, one could see the entire valley clearly. Most importantly, they could advance or retreat from there. The direction they retreated to was also Longyang City. "Let's go." Whoosh! Yi Qinghan ran towards the short mountain with the little fox immortal and the cat demon. The mountain was also bare, and there were very few thorns. There were only a few ancient pine trees that were about to die. There wasn't much nutrition here, and it wasn't suitable for plants to grow. The pine tree's hardness was comparable to heaven immortal grade immortal weapons. The three of them and the bird lay on the short mountain and looked down at the cave. The cave was still rumbling, and the mountain was constantly collapsing. The cave was almost hollowed out. If the impact was strong enough, the entire mountain could collapse. Bang! Gotcha! The boulder that Yi Qinghan had used to block the entrance of the cave was directly smashed apart by the ferocious beast. A terrifying and sharp aura surged out from the cave, causing dust and smoke to rise in the valley. A gigantic steel beast crawled out from the cave. It was almost the same as Yi Qinghan's prediction. It was more than 2 meters tall, had 4 limbs, and was a reptile. Its body was covered in scales, and it had a huge head. Its eyes were emitting blue light, and its fangs could even bite through Mystic Mother immortal steel. Its skin didn't look like it was made of flesh and blood, but more like a steel body. There was blood dripping from its fangs, and a foul stench overflowed from its mouth. It could be smelled from far away. Yi Qinghan lay on the opposite mountain, which was only a few hundred meters away. At this moment, his heart felt like it was about to explode. The pressure from the soul made him, the little fox immortal, and the cat demon not dare to breathe. What is this thing? Yi Qinghan looked at the ancient beast climbing the cliff. Its sharp claws were more terrifying than a spiral drill, and the rock was pierced through like tofu. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The fierce object quickly climbed to the top of the mountain, and it could see Yi Qinghan on the opposite side. When their eyes met, Yi Qinghan's hair stood on end. Chapter 2363. Perhaps the beast had been sleeping for too long. The mountains and rivers had moved, and the sun and moon had changed. It was a little confused. It climbed halfway up the mountain and saw Yi Qinghan at first glance. Yi Qinghan's pores were enlarged. A dangerous aura entered his body through his pores. His soul was instantly stimulated to its peak. Whoosh! The dragon scale Soulguard bell and snow WYRM armor were awakened at the same time. The sky-devouring cauldron was also activated. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan immediately stood up and swallowed a mouthful of saliva. He regretted waiting here, but if he wanted to leave now, he would have to see if the beast was willing to let him go. Clearly, the ancient beast had been sleeping for too long and had little energy in its body. It was very hungry and urgently needed energy to replenish itself. Clearly, Yi Qinghan was the best tonic. Roar! The ancient beast roared and jumped down from the mountainside. Its powerful body sank into the valley, but it did not shake. Boom! 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 The beast left footprints in its footsteps as it charged towards Yi Qinghan. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and took Cat Demon and Little Fox Immortal away. He teleported the Immortal Gate and shattered space-time. In the blink of an eye, he rushed down the mountain and headed straight for Sun Dragon City. It would take another 7 to 8 days to reach Sun Dragon City. The 800 people in front of him had only escaped for a little more than an hour. 6 hours later, Yi Qinghan caught up with the group of people. The ancient beast was in hot pursuit. It was like a bulldozer. Rocks and ancient trees could not stop its footstep. Boom! The beast was charging wildly. Everywhere it passed was in ruins. The group of miners was gathered together and became its target. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan was much faster than the others. He quickly approached the group and shouted, "Scatter and run!" Whoosh! The 800 people instantly split into 3 groups. Only a small number of people followed Yi Qinghan as he rushed towards Sun Dragon City. The ancient beast seemed to have locked onto Yi Qinghan and was in hot pursuit. Its speed was so fast that every step it took created a large crater in the ground. Yi Qinghan kept teleporting, but it was too late to save the others. All he could do was drag a few of the mine masters with him as he continued forward. These people were still useful and could not be killed by the vicious beast. Yi Qinghan pulled the oldest miner out of the ground. He turned his head slightly and saw the ancient behemoth charging towards them. He immediately shouted in horror, "That's the Mount Ju beast!" Mount Jade beast? Yi Qinghan did not know what it was, so he immediately asked, "What is that? What level is it?" Woo! Yi Qinghan was carrying a few people, but it did not affect his speed. Instead, the group of heavenly immortal experts who were left behind bought them some time. The screams mixed with the explosions caused by the attack. No one dared to look back, but the more they could not see the situation behind them, the more terrified they became. The heavenly immortal experts were no match for the vicious beast. Those who could mine were not strong enough and did not have much ability. They were heavenly immortals who had to work hard. They were too slow, and in the blink of an eye, they were left behind by Yi Qinghan. "Help! Ah!" Shrill screams came from behind, but Yi Qinghan did not relent, because he really could not save this group of people. When he heard Yi Qinghan's question, he was absent-minded for a moment, then he explained, "This Mount Jade Beast is an ancient creature. Its body is as hard as the Mystic Mother, and it eats mystic immortal-level immortal materials as its food. Once this kind of creature hibernates, it may sleep for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even millions of years. Perhaps the high-grade mine it is hiding in has run out of immortal materials, or perhaps it was awakened by someone. Otherwise, it will not wake up." Yi Qinghan sucked in a breath of cold air. To survive by eating mystic immortal-level immortal materials, how hard was this thing's body? Once it awakens, it will definitely be enraged and attack cities. It will devour the blood, qi, and souls of immortals to make up for its many years of slumber. This kind of creature was more common in ancient times. Later on, because of the prosperity of humans, they were forced to hide in the mountains to hibernate. However, every time a Mount Jade Beast awakens, it will break into a main city and devour countless lives. Unless a mystic immortal at the peak personally makes a move, it will be very difficult to kill this kind of creature. The old man quickly explained. Yi Qinghan swallowed a mouthful of saliva as he felt the gloomy wind behind him. If this Mount Jade Beast were to follow him into the city, wouldn't many people die? Yi Qinghan wasn't some savior, but he felt that with so many people dying because of him, he would definitely feel bad. Whoosh! Roar! The Mount Jade Beast opened its huge mouth and directly sucked in dozens of heaven immortal experts who were not far behind Yi Qinghan into its mouth. Its mouth could actually produce a powerful order that was bound by light. The heaven immortal experts couldn't resist at all. The cat demon was so frightened that her legs had turned to jelly. She was being dragged away by Yi Qinghan, so she couldn't display her original speed. "Cat demon, I'll escape in another direction. You take the Mine Master and the rest to Yang Dragon City. Let Yang Dragon City prepare in advance and activate the defensive array of Yang Dragon City to prevent the Mount Jade Beast from bringing a huge disaster to Yang Dragon City," Yi Qinghan roared in a deep voice. The cat demon was sweating profusely. If she were to reveal her true form, her speed wouldn't be any slower than Yi Qinghan. In fact, she might even be slightly faster. However, she couldn't activate her bloodline under the influence of the Mount Jade Beast's bloodline. Immortal Yi, this Mount Jade Beast can ignore the defensive array of a large city. With its speed and strength, it only needs half a day to destroy the defense of a city. The old Mine Master immediately reminded. Roar! Just as Yi Qinghan was still in shock, the huge beast leaped a few thousand meters and directly swept over Yi Qinghan's head, appearing in front of them. The Mount Jade Beast's massive body blocked Yi Qinghan's path. It bared its fangs that could pierce through any mystic immortal-grade immortal artifact. The heaven-devouring cauldron was useless. The dragon scale Soulguard bell and snow WYRM armor were like rotten wood in front of the Mount Jade Beast. Hiss! Yi Qinghan drew in a cold breath and quickly stopped. Cold sweat dripped from his forehead. Gulp! The divine bird was also badly frightened. This fellow was just too frightening. Be it in terms of looks or strength, it wasn't something an ordinary person could contend with. Yi Qinghan released the cat demon and the group of Mine Masters who were holding hands. Sha sha sha. The cat demon and the group of mine masters released their hands and slowly retreated. Their eyes were filled with fear and despair. "Boss, what do we do?" the divine bird cried out in fear. Yi Qinghan had no other choice. At this moment, he could only rely on the heaven-devouring cauldron. Therefore, he immediately activated the heaven-devouring cauldron and activated its immortal killing runes to attack the Mount Jade Beast. Roar! The Mount Jade Beast waved its strong front limbs and smashed the heaven-devouring cauldron, sending it flying. It was almost a collision. Yi Qinghan's divine sense was one with the heaven-devouring cauldron. At this moment, his head buzzed and almost exploded. However, the Mount Jade Beast seemed to be fine. Its body didn't even move. Whoosh! The heaven-devouring cauldron was captured by Yi Qinghan and immediately released immortal light. He wanted to swallow the Mount Jade Beast and refine it. Boom! The heaven-devouring cauldron expanded and fell from the sky, sucking the Mount Jade Beast in. Yi Qinghan activated his soul spirit and unleashed his peak strength to control the heaven-devouring cauldron. Boom boom boom! Bang! The heaven-devouring cauldron only lasted for 3 breaths before the Mount Jade Beast shattered it from the inside. Chapter 2364. The Heaven-Devouring Cauldron, a mystic immortal-grade offensive immortal artifact, was crushed like tofu under the Mount Jade Beast's fangs before it was devoured. Pfft! Yi Qinghan violently vomited blood. Even with the protection of the dragon scale soul-protecting bell, his soul was still injured. The cat demon and the others were so frightened that they found it difficult to even walk, let alone help Yi Qinghan deal with the Mount Jade Beast. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Thump thump thump! Yi Qinghan hurriedly exhaled a few mouthfuls of turbid air. His eyes flickered as he thought about how to escape. At this moment, he could no longer care about the countless living beings in Longyang City. The divine bird was trembling all over and was somewhat at a loss. It, who had always been able to turn the tables in the face of danger, had become a burden at this moment. Roar! The Mount Jade Beast's sinister fangs pierced out. The sinister cold light in its eyes was filled with rage. It was clear that it was truly furious at this moment. Bang! The Mount Jade Beast stomped its foot, causing the mountains and earth within a radius of 10 miles to crumble and collapse. Whoosh! A ray of light quickly enveloped Yi Qinghan. This was the order of the Mount Jade Beast's immortal technique. Once he was bound by the light, he would definitely not be able to escape. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Yi Qinghan used stellar transposition and quickly escaped into the distance. He was practically rolling on the ground as he escaped the Mount Jade Beast's order in a sorry state. Whoosh! The cat demon finally exploded with the speed she should have before she died. She escaped the order's range with lightning speed and took a detour to escape the battlefield. However, those miners did not manage to escape with their lives. They were directly devoured by the Mount Jade Beast. The cat demon escaped, but Yi Qinghan could not. This fellow had its eyes on Yi Qinghan and wanted to devour him to replenish its blood. Yi Qinghan swallowed a mouthful of saliva. The heaven-devouring cauldron was shattered and he was injured. He was definitely not the Mount Jade Beast's match. The Mount Jade Beast's physical body was the limit. Even a large city's defensive array could not stop it. The city walls could not withstand more than a few attacks. Its visual impact was enough to make anyone below the mystic immortal great circle feel despair. Yi Qinghan retreated dozens of steps. His eyes flickered, but he did not even have a suitable weapon. There was no way he could fight it. "Boss, run!" the divine bird yelled. Yi Qinghan turned his head to look at the divine bird on his shoulder. He suddenly remembered that it had a gemstone of unknown origin on its back that could directly attack one's soul. Even Long Yang could not withstand its attack. Perhaps he could try using it. However, this gemstone was too powerful. Yi Qinghan could not touch it directly, so it was impossible for him to use it as a weapon. Swish! Yi Qinghan reached out and grabbed the divine bird, preparing to fling it away. Hey, hey, hey! Boss, what are you trying to do? The divine bird asked in a panic. Yi Qinghan grunted and said sternly, Get ready. Use the gems to attack the Mount Jade Beast. Oh, F***ck, F***ck, F***ck. Wait. The divine bird suddenly cursed, and its screams pierced through the clouds. Roar! The Mount Jade Beast's 4 limbs shattered the ground as it leapt towards Yi Qinghan. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan swung his hand and threw the divine bird at the Mount Jade Beast. I'm dead for sure. You bastard! I won't let you off even if I become a ghost. The divine bird's screams pierced through the air. It was very shrill. Bang! Roar! The divine bird was thrown by Yi Qinghan very quickly, smashing into the scales of the Mount Jade Beast. The divine bird had thick skin and flesh. It had swallowed countless spirit herbs and immortal treasures, so it was not afraid of being smashed. However, it was so frightened that it cried out. However, the moment the gemstone touched the Mount Jade Beast, its body convulsed and fell to the ground, screaming as its body convulsed. Thud! Rustle! The divine bird was also thrown to the ground. It was so frightened that it couldn't even fly. It scampered towards Yi Qinghan. Its fat body was very bloated, and its butt was swaying from side to side. It looked very comical with the jewels on its back. You scared me to death. F***ck. The divine bird screamed as it ran. Yi Qinghan was delighted. It seemed that the gemstone was still useful. Divine bird, come to me. Yi Qinghan was overjoyed as he gestured with his hand. The divine bird seemed to have forgotten the pain after its wounds healed. It subconsciously ran to Yi Qinghan's side. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan reached out and grabbed the divine bird again. Only then did the divine bird react. It immediately roared, Yi Qinghan, if you throw me out again, I won't let you off. Roar! The Mount Jade Beast was even more furious. It struggled to stand up and bent its body. This meant that it was ready to attack. Boom, boom, boom. The Mount Jade Beast ran wildly, causing the ground to shake. Yi Qinghan leaned back slightly and waved his hand. He roared, Eat my bird! Whoosh! A shrill scream pierced through the air again. After the gemstone on the divine bird's back came into contact with the Mount Jade Beast's attack order, it emitted an immortal light that was as bright as the sun. It was so bright that people could not open their eyes. Bang! Roar! Son of a bitch, Yi Qinghan! I hate you to death! The divine bird was in despair. If it was swallowed by the Mount Jade Beast, its life would be over. However, the divine bird did not hit the Mount Jade Beast's mouth, but its neck. The divine bird's bones were about to fall apart from the impact, but the gemstone on its body did not fall off. Bang! Roar! The Mount Jade Beast was in unbearable pain. Its huge body was sent flying as if it had suffered a heavy blow. It created a deep crater in the ground. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan took the initiative. In a flash, he rushed to where the divine bird had fallen and reached out to grab it from the ground. The divine bird's feathers fell to the ground. It almost became a featherless parrot. Damn it! Yi Qinghan! Oh no! Boss, don't do this. I was wrong. The divine bird wailed and begged for mercy. Yi Qinghan grinned. Look, it's very afraid of the gemstone on your body. I can't touch it, so you can only use it to attack the Mount Jade Beast. Look, didn't you not have any attack power all this time? This is a good opportunity for you to show off your invincible might. Whoosh, bang. Without waiting for the divine bird to speak, Yi Qinghan threw the divine bird again, smashing it into the Mount Jade Beast's abdomen. Roar! The Mount Jade Beast seemed to be very afraid of the gemstone. It was dispirited and its eyes were filled with fear. After being smashed by the divine bird a few times, it did not understand how the divine bird could directly attack its soul and even threaten its life. The Mount Jade beast thought that it was all thanks to the divine bird. It kept growling and begging, as if it wanted the divine bird to stay away from it. The divine bird was also extremely afraid. Both parties were afraid of each other, but Yi Qinghan took advantage of this opportunity to throw the divine bird at the Mount Jade beast's body. Roar, roar, roar. 2 hours later, the Mount Jade beast fell to the ground weakly. It was prostrating on all fours, as if it was begging for mercy in a submissive manner. The divine bird was almost bald, with only a few feathers on its body. It looked particularly comical. At this moment it was so frightened that its legs turned to jelly. It was limping as it walked. Its legs did not have any hostility. Chapter 2365. In the desolate southeastern mountains, the Jade Mountain beast pleaded in fear. Its eyes were filled with despair as it trembled at the sight of the divine bird. The divine bird was in an even more miserable state. It was basically hairless and its pitiful eyes were filled with tears. It wished it could stare Yi Qinghan to death. Yi Qinghan laughed mockingly as he pointed at the Jade Mountain beast and said, "Look, such a powerful existence has been beaten to tears by you. It's crawling in front of you, not daring to get up. Don't you feel any sense of accomplishment?" "Accomplishment, my ass. Look at my body, I don't even have a single feather. My distinguished and elegant godly appearance, ah. How am I going to pick up girls in the future?" The divine bird turned its head to look at its naked body. It couldn't help but clamp its legs together and roar, "Compensate me with a body of divine feathers." Yi Qinghan pursed his lips and said indifferently, "Let's subdue this Jade Mountain beast first. After this matter is settled, I'll deal with our own matters." "No way!" the divine bird roared. Yi Qinghan shook his head helplessly. He raised a finger and said, "Help me subdue the Jade Mountain beast and I'll give you 100 million celestial coins. You can use it however you want." "What kind of bird do you take me for? You think you can trample on my dignity with just a little bit of money?" the divine bird roared angrily. Yi Qinghan pursed his lips and rolled his eyes. He raised 3 fingers and said in a deep voice, 300 million. Don't push your luck. 300 million it is. Do you think I'm a greedy person? I'm doing this because of our relationship. Don't think you can buy my dignity with just 300 million. The divine bird replied angrily. Yi Qinghan sneered and didn't mock it. He led it towards the Jade Mountain beast. The Jade Mountain beast kept growling and didn't dare to stand up again. Over the past half a day, it had been smashed by the divine bird every time it stood up. From the outside, it looked fine, but its internal chi and blood had almost dried up. Every collision almost tore its soul apart. It was truly afraid of the divine bird. Yi Qinghan used his divine bird's might to look down on the Mount Jade beast and threatened, "Mount Jade beast, submit to me. Otherwise, I will beat you until you can't even stand up." Mount Jade glared at Yi Qinghan in disgust. Its blue eyes were somewhat dim as it spat out blood. Its chi and blood were weak. As beasts, the divine bird and little fox immortal could sense that it was exhausted. "Roar!" the Mount Jade beast growled, as though it was trying to force Yi Qinghan to retreat. Yi Qinghan went up and threw the divine bird onto the Mount Jade beast's body. He then quickly pulled the divine bird back and retreated a few steps to maintain a relatively safe distance. The divine bird was already in despair. Yi Qinghan didn't care about its feelings at all, smashing it as he pleased. He was clearly treating it as a weapon. Luckily, it wasn't a human this time. Otherwise, a mystic immortal expert would be able to tear it apart with a single slash. The Mount Jade beast's body was too big. It had just awakened, so its limbs were still stiff. It couldn't kill the divine bird from a distance. Otherwise, the divine bird would have been killed a long time ago. Yi Qinghan grunted and acted as though he was going to continue smashing the divine bird at the Mount Jade beast. The Mount Jade beast was so frightened that it prostrated on the ground, nodding and begging for mercy. Mount Jade beast, submit to me and there will definitely be benefits for you. Now that humans are supreme, once a vicious creature like you enters the city, you will definitely be surrounded and killed by experts. Follow me and you will at least be able to preserve your life. Yi Qinghan warned in a deep voice. The Mount Jade beast didn't dare to resist at this moment. It had been beaten by Yi Qinghan to a pulp in just a few hours, and its soul was about to fall. What exactly was that gem? Why was it so powerful? Yi Qinghan didn't understand, and neither did the Mount Jade beast. Roar! The Mount Jade beast growled, but its voice was very docile. It no longer had any hostility or killing intent. For an ancient vicious beast to do this, it meant that it had submitted. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan exhaled a turbid breath. Holding the divine bird in his hand, he slowly walked towards the Mount Jade beast. The Mount Jade beast lay on the ground, allowing Yi Qinghan to approach. Its eyes were filled with fear, but it didn't have the will to resist. The majesty of an ancient vicious beast had already disappeared. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan jumped onto the Mount Jade beast's back and patted its neck. Get up! Boom! The ground collapsed. The Mount Jade beast stepped on the mountain rocks and shattered them, but Yi Qinghan didn't move at all. Be good. This is mysterious Mother Immortal Steel. As long as you are obedient, you can have anything you want. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan waved his hand and took out a dozen pieces of mysterious Mother Immortal Steel and threw them in front of the Mount Jade beast. Crack! The Mount Jade beast's tongue curled, and the dozen or so pieces of mid-grade mysterious Mother Immortal Steel were sucked into its mouth. With a few crunching sounds, the tough mysterious Mother Immortal Steel was chewed up like jelly beans. Roar, roar, roar! The Mount Jade beast roared a few times and turned its head to look pitifully at Yi Qinghan. It seemed like it still wanted more. Gulp! Yi Qinghan swallowed a mouthful of saliva. His forehead was covered in cold sweat. This fellow's appetite was too big. A dozen or so pieces of mid-grade mysterious Mother Immortal Steel were worth tens of millions. It ate them just like that and still wasn't full. However, the Mount Jade beast had yet to sign a contract with Yi Qinghan. The Mount Jade beast understood Yi Qinghan's words, but Yi Qinghan didn't understand it. Give up your soul's resistance and sign a contract of equality with me. Yi Qinghan pretended to be dignified and said in a deep voice. Whoosh! The Mount Jade beast half knelt with its forelimbs, as if it was submitting and agreeing. Yi Qinghan mobilized his divine sense and entered the Mount Jade beast's sea of consciousness. Only then did he realize that the Mount Jade beast's soul wasn't strong. However, there was a thin layer of protective membrane outside its sea of consciousness. As long as it was willing, perhaps only a golden immortal could break through its defense. If a mystic immortal perfection stage expert wanted to kill it, they could only attack its body. However, once Yi Qinghan signed a contract with it, the Mount Jade beast's entire form appeared in his sea of consciousness. He could even see the Mount Jade beast's limbs, bones, and tens of thousands of meridians. Its composition was basically mystic immortal high-grade or even mid-grade immortal materials. It ate immortal treasures like the mysterious Mother Immortal Steel as its food. After sleeping for too long, the Mount Jade beast was really weak at this moment. Otherwise, it would definitely be able to kill the divine bird and prevent the divine bird from getting close to it. Naturally, the gem wouldn't be able to attack it. Huff, huff, huff. Yi Qinghan panted heavily. He was glad that he encountered the Mount Jade beast when it was at its weakest. At this moment, the Mount Jade beast still didn't know that it was the gem on the divine bird's back that attacked its soul and not the divine bird itself. Therefore, it was still afraid of the divine bird. As long as the divine bird stood on its back, it wouldn't dare to move recklessly. Yi Qinghan finally understood that the Mount Jade beast needed blood. It needed a large amount of blood, flesh, and blood. If it was allowed to charge into Yang Dragon City, all the living beings in the city would be devoured by it. Enter the mountain. We will replenish your blood. Remember, you are not allowed to kill people to replenish your blood without my orders. Yi Qinghan warned in a deep voice. Roar! Roar! The Mount Jade beast growled and nodded continuously. Whoosh! Boom! Boom! The Mount Jade beast trampled mountains and rivers as it headed straight for the ancient forest. Everywhere it passed, it left behind deep pits. There were many forests and mountain ranges in the vicinity of Yang Dragon City, and they were rich in resources. Some of the ancient forests hadn't been exploited yet because Yang Dragon didn't dare to barge in recklessly. That was because those places were considered dangerous, and there were many mystic immortal-level ferocious creatures. Although he was an intelligent dragon that had taken human form, he didn't have a pure dragon bloodline. He couldn't suppress mid-stage or even high-level mystic immortal-level creatures to the point that they didn't dare to make a move. Chapter 2366. The Mount Jade Beast was an ancient beast. Its might was even more terrifying than a real sky dragon. Even if there was a real sky dragon in this mountain, it would dare to suppress and eat it. Ancient beasts that were stronger than dragons could be found everywhere. Compared to dragons, they only lacked intelligence. Dragons could cultivate and even cultivate to the immortal Emperor realm. For example, there were only 5 people like the immortal Dragon Emperor. The Mount Jade Beast carried Yi Qinghan on a mad dash. After more than 10 days, they broke through the desolate mountain range in the southeast and entered an ancient forest. There were precipitous cliffs, and tens of thousands of beasts were galloping about. The sounds of strange creatures made one's hair stand on end. But at this moment, the Mount Jade Beast was very excited. It could leap a few thousand meters from one mountain to another. Regardless of whether it was a steep cliff or a treacherous land without a path, its sharp claws could carve a path out. Roar! Some beasts that were bigger than it were so frightened that they did not dare to move. They were quickly devoured, and even their bones were chewed. The Mount Jade Beast wantonly hunted and slaughtered formidable ferocious beasts, and the stronger they were, the happier it was. Even when it encountered a mysterious immortal realm ferocious beast, it was unable to stop its footsteps. A few days later, this ancient forest was in chaos as the myriad of beasts fled madly. The Mount Jade Beast was too barbaric and had low intelligence. It lived in the state of a wild beast, eating raw meat and chewing it. Yi Qinghan shrugged. He thought about it and felt that he had overestimated this beast. It could even eat Xian Mu immortal steel. How could he expect it to live like a human? Boss, I'll let you experience the life of a human. Catch me a big high-level beast. A sky immortal level beast will do. I'll let you have a taste of barbecued meat that won't leak blood. I'll let you have a taste of the delicacies of this world. Yi Qinghan patted the Mount Jade Beast, wanting to get closer to it. If he could make it follow him willingly, he had to control its stomach first. The Mount Jade Beast had never eaten cooked food before, so it wasn't looking forward to this. After all, it was still a ferocious creature in its bones, so it only acted according to its instincts. However, it didn't object. It ran wildly in the wilderness for several hours, wantonly killing high-grade immortal beasts. These immortal beasts weren't low in rank, but in the end, they all became food for the Mount Jade Beast. After eating several hundred immortal beasts at the heavenly immortal realm and 2 high-level immortal beasts at the early stage of the mystic immortal realm, Mount Ju finally hunted down a slightly larger jungle tiger and handed it to Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan jumped off the back of the Mount Jade Beast and dragged the jungle tiger to a small stream. He cut open its intestines and threw away the junk ring, leaving only the meat and fur. He then threw the immortal core of the jungle tiger to the Mount Jade beast and began to roast the meat with the origin of fire. The most important thing about roasting meat was to prevent the chi and blood of these ferocious beasts from leaking out. This was the only way to replenish the chi and blood of expert. Otherwise, it would just be eating a pile of trash. Why would powerful eternal immortals care about such food? Yi Qinghan's roasting technique didn't lose out to his battle technique. He added spices and immortal herbs to roast the jungle tiger's meat. Not only could it replenish chi and blood, it could also increase immortal spiritual energy. It was definitely a great supplement. At this moment, the divine bird was carrying the gem on its back. It stood by the stream and looked at its reflection in the water. It couldn't help but raise its head and roar. No, the heavens are jealous of the handsome bird. Yi Qinghan, I'll fight you to the death. The divine bird realized how ugly it was at this moment. It was so ugly that it was in despair. It scampered towards Yi Qinghan, as if it really wanted to fight with its life on the line. Yi Qinghan had just finished roasting some meat. He casually stuffed it into the divine bird's mouth and said with a smile, "Divine bird boss, please try my cooking." The divine bird's mouth was full of roasted meat. The aroma assailed its nostrils. It seemed to have forgotten its purpose. It hugged the roasted meat and began to gobble it up. Its mouth was greasy and covered its entire body. "I'll deal with you after I'm full. Bastard, let's see how ugly you've made me. In the future, how will I face others?" The divine bird cursed as it ate. It felt disgusted just thinking about its reflection in the stream. After eating a large piece of meat, it was full. It threw the rest of the roasted meat to Mount Jade beast and roared, "You're so ugly that I have no appetite. Compensate me with a set of divine feathers." Yi Qinghan curled his lips. At this moment, the divine bird was indeed so ugly that it could shock the heavens and make ghosts weep. Without feathers, it couldn't even fly. However, he didn't dare to mock the divine bird at this moment. Otherwise, it would really fly into a rage. "From today onwards, you're the boss. The limit is 3 years. In these 3 years, I'll listen to everything you say. After 3 years, your feathers will have grown out. That shouldn't be a problem, right?" Yi Qinghan said helplessly. "Really?" The divine bird's eyes lit up. It finally had a chance to become the master. It would be a waste not to take advantage of this opportunity. Otherwise, it couldn't really fall out with Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan nodded firmly and said, "Yes, boss. Absolutely. Who asked me to let you down?" The divine bird was instantly overjoyed. It couldn't be bothered to be angry anymore. It carried the gem and quickly ran in front of Yi Qinghan. It said smugly, "Don't worry, I won't make things difficult for you. However, don't be too happy too early. When we reach the big city, you'll be the servant and I'll be the master. Do you understand?" Yi Qinghan smiled slightly and said self-deprecatingly, "Got it, boss." The roasted meat was quickly cooked and the aroma assailed their nostrils. The immortal beast meat contained a large amount of qi and blood. It was stimulated by Yi Qinghan's origin flame. Although it was just a pile of meat, it was equivalent to Mount Jade beast devouring dozens of immortal beasts at the celestial immortal level. Roar. Mount Jade beast seemed to be able to sense it. It quickly crawled to Yi Qinghan's side and looked at the roasted meat with anticipation. It bared its fangs and wished it could swallow the entire fire. Yi Qinghan slowly lowered the fire's temperature. The roasted meat was still steaming hot, but this temperature was nothing to Mount Jade beast. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan pulled out a piece of thigh meat and threw it into Mount Jade beast's mouth. "Chew slowly and try," Yi Qinghan reminded it. Chomp chomp! Mount Jade beast chewed a few times. The qi and blood in the meat was dozens of times more than raw meat. Furthermore, it could be used quickly. Once it entered its stomach, the qi and blood flowed through its limbs and bones, leaving a lingering fragrance in its mouth. It had never eaten such roasted meat in its entire life. Roar! Mount Jade Beast opened its mouth and gestured for Yi Qinghan to bring in the rest of the roasted meat. Those fangs were simply a powerhouse's nightmare. Mount Jade Beast's mouth was filled with the stench of blood. It almost made Yi Qinghan vomit. In order to avoid the stench, he quickly threw the rest of the roasted meat to Mount Jade Beast. Gulp! Mount Jade Beast chewed a few times and quickly swallowed the roasted meat. The blue light in its eyes was like a blue moon that could steal a person's soul. Bang! Mount Jade Beast stomped on the ground and turned to charge towards the ancient forest. Whoosh! Boom boom boom! Mount Jade Beast pushed down huge boulders and huge trees. It could even cross a mountain that was dozens of meters tall with a single stride. Its speed was terrifying. Yi Qinghan's eyebrows twitched. He did not understand what the beast was trying to do. However, after waiting for an hour, Mount Jade Beast was carrying a huge immortal beast on its back and holding another in its mouth. However, it was already on the verge of death. Bang! Mount Jade Beast threw the immortal beast in front of Yi Qinghan and prostrated itself with its front limbs. It kept nudging the immortal beast towards Yi Qinghan, begging him to roast it again. Yi Qinghan was starting to regret it. This beast had such a huge appetite. Although a full meal could prevent it from eating for dozens of years, or even hundreds of years, it would still take a few days to feed it once. It was all on him. It was so annoying. Chapter 2367. In the ancient forest, there were cliffs and abysses everywhere. In a small valley, Yi Qinghan was leaning against a rock. He could not help but feel regret when he saw the Mount Jade Beast acting cute in anticipation. There are only 2 left. If you want to eat them, think of a way to transform yourself. I'll teach you how to roast meat, said Yi Qinghan with a grunt. Poochie! Poochie! The Mount Jade Beast had actually learned how to act cute. It was extremely obedient as it nodded repeatedly. Yi Qinghan quickly roasted the 2 beasts. After feeding the Mount Jade Beast, he rode it back to the mineral vein and used the Mount Jade Beast to cut the Yang Jade Diamond. However, a sharp aura instantly spread out for countless kilometers, enveloping Yi Qinghan and the Mount Jade Beast. Roar! The long roar was like the sound of the great Tao that resounded throughout the river. The sound contained a monstrous order. Yi Qinghan could not understand what was contained in the sound, but the dragon blood in his body nearly ignited. His soul also fell into silence as the dragon scale soul guard bell trembled and nearly shattered. Plop! The Mount Jade Beast was also given a fright. Its forelimbs trembled as it knelt down. An unimaginable thing had appeared. It must have been alarmed by the Mount Jade Beast. Yi Qinghan did not even need to think. Such a level of thing was not something he could provoke. Let's go. Are you stupid? Whoosh! Yi Qinghan dragged the divine bird and rushed onto the Mount Jade Beast's back. He grabbed the beast by the neck and lifted it up. Boom! The Mount Jade Beast jolted to its senses as it turned to flee. Its speed was several times faster than before. After all, it had recovered most of its blood and qi. Coupled with the impending danger, it was forced to use its peak speed. Instantly, the mountains and rivers receded as the forest was reduced to dust. The Mount Jade Beast carried Yi Qinghan and charged forward. The divine bird looked behind it in a daze. The sound of the great Tao that resembled a dragon's roar was like a mighty bell. At that moment, it had almost rushed out of the ancient forest. Boom! 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 Bang! Bang! Whoosh! The Mount Jade Beast rampaged between the cliff. The black iron beast was not afraid of falling or impact. Even if it fell from the cliff, it would not shake its body. Yi Qinghan sat on his back as steady as Mount Tai. There were only strong winds and qijin, but the danger behind him was about to break through his defenses. Another voice rolled out from behind them. The Sanskrit sound of the great Tao contained the murderous aura of the soul and swept out for thousands of miles, once again enveloping Yi Qinghan and the Mount Jade Beast. Bang! Boom! The Mount Jade Beast was sent tumbling by the sound of the great Tao. Yi Qinghan's soul went dark as he spat out a mouthful of blood essence. His vision went black as he collapsed to the ground. The sound of the great Tao was too terrifying. It could kill a soul body like Yi Qinghan from thousands of kilometers away. The Mount Jade Beast growled in fright, at a loss for what to do. Only the divine bird could not feel it. The sound of the great Tao was nothing more than an ordinary whistle in its ears. Ho ho ho! Roar! The Mount Jade Beast cried out in horror as it bared its fangs. It was enraged by its extreme fear. It could already sense that death was upon it. The sound of the great Tao was coming for it. It could sense that Yi Qinghan had only been implicated. The person who produced the sound of the great Tao was definitely a golden, immortal, mighty figure. The divine bird understood Yi Qinghan's strength the best. To be able to heavily injure Yi Qinghan with a sound from countless kilometers away, it had to be a powerful figure. If a powerful figure were to take action personally, it would definitely be for the Mount Jade Beast. It was probably afraid that the Mount Jade Beast would attack and massacre the entire region. Quickly take boss and run. The divine bird looked at the stunned Mount Jade Beast and bellowed angrily. The Mount Jade Beast was very afraid of the divine bird. It hurriedly carried Yi Qinghan onto its back. The divine bird plopped a few times before flying up with great difficulty. It ran onto the Mount Jade Beast's back and saw Yi Qinghan's mouth full of blood. His soul was dispirited and on the verge of dissipating. It immediately took out a soul-type immortal pill from its immortal ring. Although its grade was not high, it could temporarily alleviate Yi Qinghan's pain. Boom! The Mount Jade Beast quickly rushed out of the ancient forest and headed straight for the desolate mountain range in Dragon Sun City's territory. The sound of the great Tao slowly faded. It was not that it was unable to pursue the Mount Jade Beast, but because it sensed that the Mount Jade Beast was running with a human on its back, it did not insist on pursuing. Yi Qinghan's mind was in a mess. The pain in his head nearly made him faint. The strength of a golden, immortal, mighty figure was not something he could contend with. Even if they were countless kilometers apart, it was still impossible. Yi Qinghan spat out blood again. Fortunately, the Mount Jade Beast's back was not very bumpy. Otherwise, he would definitely die today. Humph! Yi Qinghan groaned. His limbs were weak. He opened his blurry eyes and saw the divine bird looking at him worriedly. It murmured, "Bring me back to the city." With that, Yi Qinghan's soul fell into darkness once again. After the Mount Jade Beast escaped from the forest, it galloped on the flat ground at an even faster speed. It was even faster than the flying speed of a mystic immortal. Bang! Crack, crack, crack. The ground kept cracking. Nothing could block the Mount Jade Beast's path. After fleeing for 3 days, the Mount Jade Beast had rushed from the desolate mountain range to the main city. There were tribes everywhere. The Mount Jade Beast's appetite was greatly increased. It wanted to devour the blood of these humans, but it was stopped by the divine bird. The divine bird's words might be more effective than Yi Qinghan's. The Mount Jade Beast shuddered. It gave up on slaughtering the tribes and headed straight for the main city. At this moment, the main city's gates were sealed. The defensive array had been activated. Because the cat demon had returned to report, Long Yang had made preparations. At this moment, Long Yang and Li Peiza were waiting on the city walls, hoping to stop the Mount Jade Beast. Stop! When it was about 1,000 meters away from the city walls, the divine bird realized that the army's crossbows were already aimed at it. It immediately shouted, "Boom!" The Mount Jade Beast stopped in its tracks and slid a deep trench on the ground. The divine bird stood on Yi Qinghan and shouted, "City Lord Long Yang, this divine bird has already tamed this Mount Jade Beast. My boss is injured. Hurry up and open the city gates. Send out some high-grade soul-type pills. It was impossible that Li Peiza and Long Yang did not know about the Mount Jade beast. It was a high-grade beast with no intelligence. It could not be tamed. On the city walls, Li Peiza and Long Yang looked at each other. They did not know if they should trust the divine bird. Li Peiza frowned. His gaze was deep as he stared at Yi Qinghan on the back of the Mount Jade beast. Although they were 1,000 meters away, he could clearly see that Yi Qinghan was seriously injured and unconscious. This Mount Jade beast has no intelligence. It acts purely on instinct. It can't cooperate with the divine bird. Could it really have been tamed? Li Peiza asked in astonishment. Long Yang didn't dare to be careless. In his heart, Yi Qinghan was the prince consort of the East clan. If Yi Qinghan died here and he didn't do anything, Yi Qinghan wouldn't be able to escape responsibility. I'll go down and try. You stay on the city walls and mobilize the army to attack the Mount Jade beast. We cannot let it enter the city. Otherwise, the people will be plunged into misery and suffering, Long Yang said in a low voice. Li Peiza nodded. At this moment, he did not dare to be careless. There was no way he could escape the Mount Jade beast's pursuit with his speed alone. Whoosh! Long Yang jumped off the city walls and appeared within 100 meters of the Mount Jade beast in a few flashes. However, he did not dare to approach any closer. Lie down! The divine bird ordered the Mount Jade beast. The Mount Jade beast did not dare to disobey. Could only crawl on all fours and lie on the ground. Long Yang's eyes shone with golden light. He did not expect the divine bird to really tame the Mount Jade beast. Whoosh! Long Yang slowly walked towards the Mount Jade beast. Yi Qinghan was already unconscious at this moment. He was definitely seriously injured. Long Yang thought it was the Mount Jade beast that had attacked him, but he did not expect it to be a soul attack from a golden immortal. Hurry up! If anything happens to Boss, this divine bird will pluck all your feathers. The divine bird roared. Chapter 2368. Only then did Long Yang react. He looked at the hairless divine bird, which looked extremely comical. He wanted to laugh but couldn't. The divine bird flew into a rage out of humiliation. If it wasn't for Yi Qinghan's urgent need for immortal medicine to heal, it would definitely order the Mount Jade beast to attack the city and massacre Dragon Sun City. Long Yang was finally certain that the Mount Jade beast wasn't going to attack the city. He immediately flew over to Yi Qinghan's side and took his pulse. His face immediately turned pale. Yi Qinghan's powerful soul had actually been shattered by a wave of order and had almost been annihilated. Was he injured by the Mount Jade beast? Long Yang was a little suspicious. The Mount Jade beast was indeed powerful, but that was only a physical attack. The Mount Jade beast could eat Yi Qinghan, but it definitely couldn't use a soul attack to beat Yi Qinghan to such an extent. I don't know what injured Boss. It was just a sound similar to a dragon's roar. I don't know where it came from. It beat Boss to such an extent from afar. Hurry up and save him, the divine bird shouted anxiously. Long Yang's forehead was sweating. How could there be such a terrifying existence in his territory? However, he didn't have much time to think. He immediately took out a high-grade immortal pill from his immortal ring. A mystic immortal soul immortal pill was worth tens of millions. This was Long Yang's life-saving trump card. He usually couldn't bear to use it. However, Yi Qinghan was from the Guangdong imperial family, so he didn't dare to be stingy. Moreover, he didn't lack money now. Yi Qinghan didn't lack money either. Since Yi Qinghan saved his life, the reward wouldn't be a life-saving immortal pill. Whoosh! Long Yang directly crushed the golden immortal pill and injected it into Yi Qinghan's soul. The immortal pill turned into specks of immortal light and bathed Yi Qinghan's soul. Yi Qinghan's soul slightly regained consciousness and was awakened by the piercing pain in his soul. He immediately curled up and screamed. He hugged his head with both hands and wished he could smash his own head. The attack of a golden immortal was too powerful. It wasn't something a mystic immortal pill could heal. However, the direct wound on the soul could be healed. Only the golden immortals couldn't be destroyed. Hoo. Dong dong dong. Yi Qinghan's breathing quickened. His heart felt like it was about to explode. He was in so much pain that his eyes were tearing up. The teardrops mixed with his blood, making for a terrifying sight. Poof! Yi Qinghan spat out another mouthful of blood essence and sucked in the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in large mouthfuls. His pupils were somewhat scattered, as if he was experiencing terminal lucidity. Whoosh! Long Yang put his palms together and sat cross-legged on the ground, mobilizing his dragon essence to help Yi Qinghan heal the injuries to his immortal soul. Yi Qinghan finally felt a little better. At that moment, he took the initiative to sit cross-legged on the ground and cooperate with Long Yang's recuperation. The golden immortal order nomological laws on his soul were like a chronic disease that could not be completely removed. However, there were not many of them, because the golden immortal big shot did not want to kill him at all. It only wanted to kill Mount Zhu. Whoosh whoosh whoosh, dong dong dong, Yi Qinghan's body was undulating. His eyes were drooping, and his body was still twitching. That little bit of golden immortal order nomological laws could take his life. If the golden immortal big shot really wanted to kill him, he would not even have the chance to escape. It had to be said that Yi Qinghan was very lucky. If not for the dragon scale Soulguard bell, and the snow WRM armor, and the fact that the golden immortal big shot's target was not him, today would be the day he died of old age. The divine bird looked worried. Although it would quarrel with Yi Qinghan, it still cared a lot about Yi Qinghan. Boss, you can't die. I still want to be the boss for 3 years, the divine bird said, trembling. At this moment, Yi Qinghan had already regained consciousness. He could hear the divine bird's trembling voice. He was very touched. The luckiest thing in his life was to obtain the divine bird. Although it did not have much combat power, it was very lucky. It had saved his life countless times. After a long time, Long Yang exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. Only then did he release his hand. His face was somewhat pale. The draconic essence he had used this time was more than what he had used in dozens of battles. However, it was worth it to save Yi Qinghan's life. At least in his opinion, the return of this investment would be unimaginable. At this moment, Yi Qinghan had already fallen asleep. The immortal pill in his body was still spreading and healing his injuries. Long Yang gestured towards the city wall. The city gate opened and a carriage quickly rushed out. A few people carried Yi Qinghan onto the carriage and quickly drove into the city. Long Yang looked at the Mount Jade beast that was crawling on the ground and then looked at the naked divine bird. He really did not know what to do with the Mount Jade beast. The Mount Jade beast was too dangerous. Once it was enraged, no one could stop it. The entire Dragon Sun City would be destroyed. After all, Dragon Sun City was not a main city. It was only a large city. There were no golden immortals. Even high-level mystic immortals had not appeared. Occasionally, 2 mid-level mystic immortals would come and Long Yang would personally receive them. He was also afraid that he would not receive them well. Today, no matter what, he did not dare to let the Mount Jade beast into the city. The Mount Jade beast was comparable to a mystic immortal at the peak. No one dared to be careless. This divine bird, do you think we can put the Mount Jade beast outside the city first? It really can't enter the city. Long Yang suggested while rubbing his hands. The divine bird stood on the head of the Mount Jade beast and raised its eyebrows. Why can't it enter the city? It is my little brother and follows me. Could it be that it is not as good as a dog? Long Yang smiled bitterly and said helplessly, "This Mount Jade beast does not have intelligence. It can get angry at any time. You also know how terrifying it is. We can't block its attacks at all." The divine bird said proudly, "This thing has been tamed by me. It has intelligence and likes to eat cooked food. If you don't believe me, ask it." Long Yang looked at the Mount Jade beast and watched as the divine bird stomped its head and said, "I'm asking you a question. Prove it." The Mount Jade beast nodded innocently like a large pug. It did not look like a peerless ferocious beast at all. Long Yang's forehead was covered in sweat. He really did not know if he could believe the divine bird and the Mount Jade beast. "Come, come, come. Show City Lord Long a show. Raise your forelimbs and stand on your hind limbs. Turn around." The divine bird saw that Long Yang was still unwilling to believe it, so it teased the Mount Jade beast like it was a dog. The Mount Jade beast did not dare to disrespect the divine bird. It immediately stood up, raised its forelimbs, and turned around on the spot like an obedient cat. Cough cough, Long Yang almost laughed. This Mount Jade beast was a little different from the historical records. It was clearly a big thing that was acting cute. "All right, I admit that you have tamed it. I will first place it in the Qian family's martial cultivation field. There are no city walls there. Even if it goes crazy, we can still chase it out of Longyang City." Long Yang suggested. The divine bird did not say anything else. It rode the Mount Jade beast and entered the city with Long Yang. The Mount Jade beast looked at Long Yang's back. Its mouth was dripping with saliva and its eyes were green. It was obvious that Long Yang's original form was a secondary sky dragon. His vitality was much stronger than an ordinary mystic immortal. If it devoured Long Yang, it would not need to eat for at least a few hundred years. Long Yang felt a trace of danger. It was as if he was being stared at by a poisonous snake. His body trembled, and he hurriedly turned to look at the Mount Jade beast. The Mount Jade beast immediately turned to look elsewhere to hide its greed. It was obvious that the Mount Jade beast was not without intelligence. It just did not show it. Perhaps it was covered by its barbarism. The divine bird did not see the Mount Jade beast's expression, but Long Yang saw its last expression. He could not help but be stunned. However, in his subconscious mind, the Mount Jade beast did not have intelligence. He thought that he had seen wrongly. Chapter 2369. Long Yang was still horrified. He could not let go of the last expression of Mount Jade beast and kept recalling it in his sea of consciousness. An hour later, the divine bird arranged for Mount Jade beast to stay in the Qian family's training grounds. The Qian family had no right to object, but Qian Sihai's pleas made the divine bird compromise. The divine bird had to stay in the Qian family and control Mount Jade beast at all times. Li family's immortal treasure shop. Li Peiza was personally guarding the shop, afraid that something would happen to Yi Qinghan. All the soul immortal pills were given to Yi Qinghan, but Yi Qinghan was still in a coma. The golden immortal almighty had caused too much damage to him. If it was an ordinary high-level sky immortal, he would have died. Even the low-level mystic immortal, Long Yang, would have been in a coma for a long time. After an entire month, Long Yang and Li Peiza had already sold all the profound mother immortal steel they had. The price had been reduced by about 30%. Fortunately, they had sold everything. The two of them had made a huge profit. Only Yi Qinghan was still unconscious. After a month of coma, Yi Qinghan's soul was rapidly recovering. He gradually regained consciousness. His fingertips were trembling and his eyelids were twitching. Yi Qinghan's brows were tightly knitted as he gripped the bedsheets with his iron fists. The pain still occupied his soul, but it was much better. At least he could control himself and would not fall into a coma again. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan got up and realized that his clothes had been changed. He scanned his surroundings and struggled to stand up. He pushed the door open and realized that this was the Li family's immortal treasure shop. Yi Qinghan let out a breath of turbid air and walked into the main hall. He happened to see Li Peiza. "Brother Li, how long have I been in a coma? Where are the divine bird and Mount Jade Beast?" Yi Qinghan's voice was hoarse. He was exhausted, but he still gritted his teeth and asked. When Li Peiza saw that Yi Qinghan had awoken, he was immediately overjoyed. He hurriedly replied, "Brother Yi, there's no need to worry. The divine bird and the jade mountain beast are both in the Qian family's martial cultivation field. You were unconscious for a month and a few days, but fortunately, you were treated in time. Otherwise, your life would have been in danger. Thank you for saving my life." Yi Qinghan breathed a sigh of relief as he leaned against the wall. Li Peiza shook his head and smiled bitterly. "I only offered some high-grade soul-type immortal pills. The one who really saved your life was the city lord of Longyang City. He used a lot of dragon essence to stabilize your injuries, so I don't dare to claim this life-saving favor." The corner of Yi Qinghan's mouth slightly twitched. He didn't expect that Longyang would be willing to use his dragon essence to save him. He also had some dragon essence, but it was very little. Long Yang's body was a secondary dragon, so he had a lot of dragon essence. However, it was impossible for an ordinary sky dragon to use dragon essence to save someone. "Where's the city lord of Longyang City?" Yi Qinghan's lips were dry, and his eyes had lost a lot of light. He looked like a terminally ill person. "Brother Yi, now is not the time to thank others. You should heal your injuries first, and then talk about thanking others. During the month that you were unconscious, the mine had already stopped working. It won't make a difference if you wait a little longer." Li Peiza immediately supported Yi Qinghan to a private room, and then he pressed her down on a soft chair before casually withdrawing a high-grade immortal pill that contained dense immortal energy. He said, "Come, this is a high-grade mysterious immortal-grade immortal pill that I brought over from the capital. It's worth close to 100 million immortal stones, and it's sufficient to repair you." Yi Qinghan didn't refuse. He reached out to take the immortal pill and said, "Thank you. I will use resources to compensate for this immortal pill. Brother Yi, you don't have to be polite with me. Otherwise, I will really feel uneasy." Li Peiza didn't say much. He just sat opposite Yi Qinghan to protect him. Yi Qinghan sat cross-legged on the soft sofa and swallowed the immortal pill. He crossed his hands and formed a seal to mobilize his soul to absorb the medicinal properties of the immortal pill. He took the initiative to heal his injuries. This healing speed was many times faster than when he was unconscious. Time flew by, and a day and a night passed very quickly. Although Yi Qinghan's soul was contaminated with some golden immortal order laws, they wouldn't take the initiative to attack. However, if this hidden injury wasn't removed, it would cause trouble for him sooner or later. Yi Qinghan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. His life was saved. When Li Peiza saw that Yi Qinghan's complexion had improved a lot, he asked curiously, "Brother Yi, with your cultivation, I really can't figure out who left such a huge injury to your soul. Could it be that you have an enemy at the golden immortal level?" Yi Qinghan shook his head and said in a low voice, "That person wasn't coming for me, but for the Mount Jade Beast. I was just caught in the crossfire, or else I wouldn't have survived." Li Peiza suddenly understood. He nodded repeatedly and murmured, "No wonder. If a golden immortal big shot wanted to kill someone, let alone you, even Long Yang wouldn't have been able to survive." Yi Qinghan sighed. He thought about how miserable he was. It hadn't been easy to tame the Mount Jade Beast. He didn't expect that this fellow would bring him so much trouble. The two of them chatted for a while. Li Peiza didn't know who the big shot hiding in the ancient deep forest of Longyang City was. Even Long Yang himself didn't know. In the end, they could only give up on searching for the big shot's whereabouts. Early in the morning, Long Yang arrived at the Li family's immortal treasure shop with a face full of glory. As the saying goes, people are in high spirits when faced with happy event. This time, he had earned more than 1,000,000,000 dragon essence and saved Yi Qinghan's life. Although he had lost some dragon essence, he would be able to make up for it sooner or later. However, this payback had yet to begin. How could he not be happy? Yi Qinghan and Li Peiza had just walked out of the private room when they saw Long Yang talking with Li Shirtsong in the hall. Long Yang had wronged Li Shirtsong all these years, so he kept a low profile, hoping to ease the relationship between the two. Li Shirtsong wasn't the kind of person who would be unforgiving. Moreover, he was only a branch of the Li family. He was also a businessman, so he kept a low profile. Yi Qinghan walked in front of Long Yang, bowed deeply and said gratefully, "City Lord Long Yang, thank you for saving my life this time. I can't express my gratitude with words. I will definitely repay you in the future." Long Yang didn't dare to show any attitude. He quickly got up and helped Yi Qinghan to sit beside him. He said with the attitude of an elder, "Nephew, if you didn't take out the funds to invest in the mine, I don't know what I would have been forced to do. Speaking of saving my life, you are my savior. If you think highly of me, you can call me Uncle Long. Don't treat me as an outsider." Yi Qinghan smiled bitterly. How could he not know why Long Yang treated him like this? It was all because of the East Clan. However, he knew that the East Clan could only use this time. Junior won't say more. If you need anything in the future, just let me know. I will try my best to help," Yi Qinghan said firmly. Long Yang laughed. He knew that Yi Qinghan would accept this favor. What was the loss of dragon essence? Let's continue to mine the mysterious Mother Immortal Steel. There is less than 30% left. There is also a Yang Jade Diamond, which is quite valuable. Now that we have the help of the Jade Mountain Beast, it will be much easier for us," Yi Qinghan suggested. "Nephew, there is no need to rush. You should rest for a while and recover from your injuries." Long Yang had a caring expression. If Yi Qinghan didn't know his purpose, he might have been moved. Chapter 2370. Long Yang insisted that Yi Qinghan rest. Although it was to please him, it was also for his safety. Yi Qinghan recuperated in the Li family's immortal treasure store for another half a month before returning to the Qian family. During this time, the Qian family's martial arts field was occupied. Other than the divine bird and the Jade Mountain Beast, no one dared to approach. Qian Shui and the other youths could only cultivate outside the city. On this day, Li Peiza and Long Yang brought the cat demon to gather a group of sky immortal level miners. Most of them were old, weak, and sick. They didn't have much battle strength and could only rely on mining to survive. They waited outside Longyang City while Yi Qinghan went to the Qian family alone. The Jade Mountain Beast and the Divine Bird had not left Yi Qinghan's side for the past few days. Yi Qinghan's news had reached the Divine Bird at all times. Otherwise, the Divine Bird would have rushed to the immortal treasure store with the Jade Mountain Beast. When the Divine Bird saw Yi Qinghan, it immediately flew over. It was not used to seeing him naked. Yi Qinghan smiled as he grabbed the Divine Bird and jumped onto the back of the Mount Jade Beast. He patted the back of the Mount Jade Beast and said, "Let's go back to the mine and finish up. It's time to head to the Ancient Emperor Academy." Boom! The Jade Mountain Beast crushed the martial arts field and rushed out of Longyang City. There was a large group of miners waiting outside the city. The caravan was ready to go to the Xuanmu Immortal Mine. Yi Qinghan rode the Jade Mountain Beast at the front. He was as fast as lightning. The caravan pulling the miners didn't dare to get close to the Jade Mountain Beast. Even Long Yang and Li Peiza kept a safe distance. After a few days of frantic running, the group once again arrived at the mine. Yi Qinghan led the Mount Jade beast into the mine and discovered that the originally sealed mine entrance had been opened. There were still some blood stains on the messy gravel. Judging from the traces that had yet to dry, the blood must have been dripped onto the mine not too long ago. Someone came in. Seal the entrance and see if those people are still inside. Yi Qinghan frowned. He did not expect that someone would dare to steal from the Longyang City Lord's mine. Longyang was furious. He ordered the cat demon to bring a group of consecrators to block the entrance of the cave. Then, he rushed into the cave with Li Peiza and the others. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. The miners were divided into several teams, each of them blocking the entrances of the tunnels. Yi Qinghan and the rest continued to go deeper into the tunnels. When the torches illuminated the tunnels, they discovered that the insides of the tunnels were also stained with blood. Yi Qinghan continued to follow the trail of blood. There were collapsed rocks everywhere and many paths had been blocked. The trail of blood extended all the way into the depth. Roar! The Mount Jade beast growled and rampaged through the cave. In order not to collapse the mine, Yi Qinghan had no choice but to leave it in a huge cave and proceed alone. There was a faint light in the depths, and a faint fire element overflowed from within. Yi Qinghan stuck close to the stone wall, his eyes flashing. He casually took out a mid-grade Xianmu as an attack weapon. Whoosh! Whoosh whoosh whoosh! Yi Qinghan's footsteps echoed in the cave, but there was also the sound of breathing inside. The bends in the cave were all over the place, and visibility was very low. The sound of swords being unsheathed could be heard from inside the cave, indicating that they were on high alert. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan suddenly turned around and entered a main cave. There were a few tunnels that led to this place, and there were a few young people stationed here. Most of them were at the peak of the heaven immortal realm, and their auras were very powerful. Their immortal swords were already unsheathed, and all of them were aimed at Yi Qinghan. There were 6 of them, 4 men and 2 women. They looked to be around 24 or 25 years old. The men were handsome and vigorous, while the women were devastatingly beautiful. They were definitely at the level of fairies. Their bodies were heavily injured and their clothes were tattered. Their hair was disheveled, but it still could not hide their temperament, which was very unique. When Yi Qinghan saw them, he was stunned for a moment, but the other party was even more stunned. They didn't think that Yi Qinghan was actually a spiritual body, and they didn't think that he would actually use a piece of profound mother immortal steel to smash them. Coupled with the divine bird's strange appearance, this combination shouldn't be an enemy. Who are you people? Yi Qinghan asked with a frown. Why have you come to our mine? Out of the 6 men and women, 4 of them stood at the very front, shielding the 2 women behind them. They stared at Yi Qinghan in astonishment. They hadn't expected that this mine, which looked like a ruin, was still being mined. They had thought that it was already a waste mine. Sorry, we thought this was a waste mine, so we hid here for a while. We did not touch the things here, so don't be nervous. The young expert in the lead, who was slightly chubby, said first. Perhaps he was the leader of this group. Whoosh! At this moment, Li Peiza and Longyang also rushed over. They drew their swords, and the cold intent of their spears filled the sky. At this moment, the situation in the cave was very tense. However, this cave was not suitable for fighting, because the mountain had been hollowed out, and there was a lot of Xianmu immortal steel above. If a large area collapsed, this group of people would die here. Yi Qinghan quickly comforted both sides and said, "They are not here to steal the mine. Don't be nervous." Longyang frowned as he looked at this group of people. This group of young people all had powerful auras and extraordinary temperaments, but he did not recognize any of them. Finally, he looked at Li Peiza. After all, he was also a young man, a true king of the same level. He should know many young experts. Li Peiza was also very puzzled. This group of people's temperaments were definitely on the heaven roll, but they were definitely not on the heaven roll of the Center God Province. I am Li Peza, on the heaven roll of the Center God Province. May I ask who you are? Li Peza asked with cupped fists. Li Peza was very famous in the Center God Province, but this group of young people did not show any emotion. It was as if they had not even heard of his name. The group of young people looked at each other and cupped their fists, but they did not introduce themselves. They only said that they were not here to steal the mine. I am Long Yang, the city lord of Longyang City. Can you tell me your identities? Long Yang asked personally. However, this group of people still did not want to reveal their identities. They drew their swords and forced Yi Qinghan to let them out of the cave. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath. He knew that this group of people must be in a dangerous place, otherwise they would not be so cautious. He waved his hand to signal Li Peza and Long Yang to retreat. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Yi Qinghan quickly retreated. He was not willing to risk his life here with this group of people. Crazy people dared to do anything. The group of young people was also sizing up Yi Qinghan. They did not expect that Yi Qinghan, a young soul at the beginner stage of the heaven immortal realm, would be the backbone of this group of people. The two beautiful women had been staring at Yi Qinghan the entire time. They weren't just flower vases. They were probably swift and decisive female heroes. They were dressed in tight battle armor and brimmed with battle intent. They were probably rare female battle immortals. Yi Qinghan left the cave with an attitude of not provoking trouble. He blocked the 6 people at the entrance of the cave. Under the sunlight, this group of people's fierce aura was even more exposed. Nephew, we have to figure out the identity of this group of people. If they are enemy spies, then I have neglected my duty as the city lord, Long Yang said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan wanted to let this group of people leave, but Long Yang was unwilling. It was also his duty. He could only block them at the entrance of the cave and not allow them to leave. The Mount Jade Beast bowed slightly, ready to charge at any time. These 6 people had a lot of qi and blood. They were very good rations. As long as Yi Qinghan nodded, it would not let a single person go. Chapter 2371. The Mount Jade Beast was ready to attack, and the 6 youths' expressions changed. They didn't care about Long Yang, Yi Qinghan, or Li Peza, but they couldn't ignore the Mount Jade Beast. We have no intention of becoming enemies. Fellow Taoists, please let us leave. The leader, a slightly plump youth, said in a low voice. Long Yang was the city lord of a large city in the empire. If the enemy spies were allowed to leave under his watch, the Empire would definitely throw them into jail. He couldn't afford to take the risk. Surrender or reveal your identities. If you are trustworthy, I will not pursue the matter. Long Yang said seriously. They obviously didn't want to reveal their identities. Either they were being chased and didn't dare to believe it, or they were spies from the enemy. Yi Qinghan stared at the group of people and frowned as he pondered. Could these people be related to the golden immortal who had injured him? Whoosh! Long Yang drew his sword and lost his patience. Buzz! Li Peza's ice spear trembled as he blocked the left. Yi Qinghan rode the Mount Jade Beast to the right and surrounded the cave. If these people tried to force their way out, they would definitely die. None of them could escape. At this moment, a frail and beautiful woman walked out. She bowed and said, Fellow Taoists, we are also from the Dragon Emperor Immortal Empire. We are not spies of the Dragon Emperor Immortal Empire. We are merely fleeing for our lives. Please show mercy. What I want is proof, an identity card. Long Yang was a little impatient as he coldly reprimanded. The 4 men and 2 women looked at each other. After a long time, they nodded and came to an agreement. I am Ouyang Xuanqian. This is my younger sister, Ouyang Xuanfeng. The rest are my fellow disciples. We are students of the ancient Emperor Academy. The beautiful woman's voice was crisp, and her back was straight. Her aura was very unique, and she definitely wasn't from an ordinary faction. If she said that they were from the ancient Emperor Academy, Li Peiza and Long Yang would definitely believe her. Yi Qinghan's eyelids twitched. Who would dare to chase after the students of the ancient Emperor Academy? And in the Center God Province, whoosh! The 6 of them each took out an identity card with their names written clearly on it. Who's after you? Yi Qinghan asked. Ultimate Peak Mountain's Old Monster Di Yao. We were carrying out a mission and entered the Ultimate Peak Mystic Immortal Realm. We offended this old monster at the peak of the Mystic Immortal Realm. He brought a few old monsters and chased us for countless miles. They didn't give up even after chasing us all the way to the Center God Province. When we entered the city, they even dared to massacre us. So, we could only hide in some abandoned mines. Ouyang Xuanxian said seriously. Yi Qinghan's thoughts flickered. He knew that these 6 fellows must have obtained some incredible treasures from the Endless Peak Mountain, or they must have snatched some supreme treasure right under the nose of old monster Di Yao. Otherwise, the old monster would not have chased them all the way here. However, the Endless Peak Mountain and Yi Qinghan were enemies. He wasn't interested in sympathizing with old monster Di Yao. He shrugged and said, "So it's the senior brothers and sisters of the academy. I can also be considered half a student of the ancient Emperor Academy. It's just that I was held back by some matters and didn't have time to register. After I finish mining this mine, you guys can come with me to the ancient Emperor Academy." Ouyang Xuanxian and the rest were shocked. They looked at Yi Qinghan in disbelief. After all, there weren't many students in the ancient Emperor Academy. Every student had their own uniqueness. What could Yi Qinghan have that was special? Could it be because of his soul body? Or was it because of the hairless parrot on his shoulder? Why haven't we heard that the ancient Emperor Academy recently recruited new students? The slightly plump man in the lead asked cautiously. Yi Qinghan glanced at him and knew that his name was Su Zhan. It was written clearly on the identity card. I was introduced by an ancient Xian immortal. I haven't registered yet. It's normal that you guys don't know, Yi Qinghan replied indifferently. Su Zhan and the rest were still worried. After all, old monster Di Yao and his subordinates could come at any time. Any one of them could report to old monster Di Yao. Yi Qinghan rubbed his nose. To prevent them from worrying, he said, "My name is Yi Qinghan. Perhaps you guys don't know, but I'm a wanted criminal of the Endless Peak Mountain. A golden immortal personally issued a kill order. The bounty is at least 10 million immortal coins. Don't worry, I have nothing to do with the Endless Peak Mountain." At this time, Su Zhan, Ouyang Xuanxian and the rest were even more shocked. All these years, they had been on the run. They didn't know about Yi Qinghan at all. They also didn't know that there was another person wanted by the Endless Peak Mountain. Yi Qinghan smiled indifferently. He took out some high-grade immortal pills and threw them to everyone. "This is a gift for our first meeting. You guys heal yourselves first. I'll leave once I'm done." "Thank you, Junior Brother Yi." Ouyang Xuanxian didn't hold back. He reached out and grabbed the immortal pills. These were all high-grade immortal pills. All these years, they had been on the run and didn't have any supplies. Yi Qinghan shook his head and discussed with this group of people. They agreed to hide in the mine first. Soon, Yi Qinghan arranged a camp for Ouyang Xuanxian and the rest. He brought the Jade Mountain Beast and started to cut the Yang Jade Diamond. The teeth of the Jade Mountain Beast were absolutely terrifying. The hardness of the Yang Jade Diamond was comparable to a mid-tier Xian immortal weapon. However, it couldn't withstand the cutting of the Jade Mountain Beast's teeth. In 3 days, it was cut into pieces. A huge Yang Jade Diamond was cut into dozens of pieces. It was very evenly distributed and suitable for building a Dao field. If it was taken out, it would definitely cause a commotion among Xian immortal experts. Yi Qinghan looked at the Yang Jade diamond. Each piece was about 20 meters long and 10 meters wide. It was as if he was looking at a pile of immortal coins. His mood immediately became very comfortable. Yi Qinghan ordered the Jade Mountain Beast to open up a new tunnel. Then, he ordered the beast to transport the Yang Jade diamond out of the mine. As long as it was out of the mine, it would be easy to transport it no matter how big it was. The 80 pieces of Yang Jade diamond were quickly transported out by the Jade Mountain Beast. It was definitely a material for hard labor. Such heavy items were as light as a feather to it. The Jade Mountain Beast didn't like to eat Yang Jade diamond. Yi Qinghan casually fed it some Xian immortal steel and a large amount of cooked meat. The Jade Mountain Beast was in high spirits and enjoyed being used by Yi Qinghan as a mining slave. These few days, Su Zhan and the rest were very well behaved. They focused on cultivating and healing their injuries. This saved Yi Qinghan a lot of trouble. However, their strength was indeed terrifying. With enough resources, they were able to completely recover in 3 days. Their auras made even a monster like Yi Qinghan feel a sense of oppression. The most terrifying thing was that they all cultivated different secret techniques and had different specialties. However, when they worked together, it was even more terrifying. On this day, Su Zhan and the rest found Yi Qinghan and said with certainty, "Junior brother Yi, there is high-grade Xian immortal steel here." Yi Qinghan's eyebrows twitched. They had been mining here for a long time. Even the divine bird didn't find any high-grade Xian immortal steel. How could they be so sure? Su Zhan looked at Ouyang Xuanfeng and said confidently, "No need to doubt it. You'll understand when you get to the Ancient Emperor Academy. We have special treasure-seeking techniques that don't lose to some immortal beast." Yi Qinghan looked at Ouyang Xuanfeng. She looked very young and shy. Her face was rosy and her eyes were looking at her feet. Her hands were crossed, indicating that she was very nervous. Yi Qinghan asked curiously, "Senior sister Xuanfeng cultivates treasure-seeking techniques?" Ouyang Xuanfeng nodded lightly and said nervously, "Yes, there is high-grade Xian immortal steel here. However, there isn't much of it. At most, there are only a few dozen pieces. They are worth a few 100 million immortal coins." Chapter 2372. Ouyang Xuanfeng was very confident in her treasure-hunting skills. She didn't rely on the divine bird's innate talent, but on the specific situation of this place. She had never miscalculated before. Ouyang Xuanfeng quickly calculated the location of the high-grade mysterious mother, according to some rocks and the division of the mysterious mother. She then brought Yi Qinghan to a deep cave in the depth. The depths of the cave were extremely cold. Just as they approached, they could feel a wave of cold air. It could be described as extremely cold. Even with Yi Qinghan's soul state, he couldn't withstand it. Yi Qinghan involuntarily took a few steps back. Even with the snow flood dragon armor, it couldn't withstand the cold air. The soul state's restriction was too great. The divine bird didn't have divine feathers, but it still shivered. It stretched its head to look into the cave. It could feel that there was indeed something good inside, but it didn't dare to go down. Yi Qinghan turned his head to look outside. He circulated his qi and said in a deep voice, "Brotherly, find me in the depths." This voice was like a 1,000-mile transmission. Even Li Peiza, who was far outside the cave, could hear it clearly. He increased his speed and quickly arrived beside Yi Qinghan. Feeling the cold air inside, he wasn't alarmed. Instead, he was happy. After all, he cultivated the frost spear Dao, and his favorite was the ice source. Li Peiza was wild with joy. He thought that Yi Qinghan had asked him to come here to absorb the ice source. Just as he was about to jump down, Yi Qinghan pulled him back. "Brotherly, there is high-grade mysterious mother immortal steel here. Go down and help me find it. There are only a few dozen pieces." Yi Qinghan said excitedly. The narrow cave was only suitable for one person, but the cold air here was too heavy. Even Su Zhan and the others didn't want to go in, let alone others. Li Peiza didn't mind. He put away the ice spear and quickly jumped into the hole. The spiral hole was so narrow that one had to crawl to reach the depth. As he went deeper and deeper, he couldn't even see his own fingers. Torches couldn't burn inside, so he could only use gems to illuminate the narrow space. Li Peiza placed a large gem in his mouth. The furthest he could see was 3 to 5 meters. Some of the stone walls and paths were very smooth, so it was impossible to quickly descend. He could only use his frost war spear to probe. About 17 to 18 meters deep, the mysterious Mother Qi here was accompanied by an extremely cold Qi, which was very suitable for Li Peiza, who cultivated the frost spear Dao. Li Peiza did not cultivate. Instead, he quickly searched for high-grade profound Mother Immortal Steel. Yi Qinghan stood at the entrance of the cave, extremely worried about Li Peiza's safety. He crouched down and shouted, "Brother Li, is there any danger inside?" "It's not dangerous. It's the best training ground for me." "Ha ha ha!" Li Peiza replied from the depth. Yi Qinghan heaved a sigh of relief and waited outside with Su Zhan and the others. A thick cold air enveloped them. The aura of the 7 of them could not be transmitted out. The cold air was too heavy. Time passed slowly. Yi Qinghan was waiting anxiously. Suddenly, there was the sound of someone running outside. Yi Qinghan's ears twitched. He knew that the cat demon had arrived. However, he did not know what the cat demon was doing here. "Immortal Yi, there are a few high-level great demons outside. They say that they want to search the cave." The cat demon quickly entered the depths of the cave. She transformed into a human and hurriedly said. Yi Qinghan frowned. He could not help but look at Su Zhan and the others. He whispered, "Could it be the old monster Di Yao and the others?" "It's possible." Su Zhan immediately nodded and said. Yi Qinghan touched his nose and asked curiously, "What did you steal from them? How are they able to track you down all the time?" Su Zhan and the others' expressions changed. They shook their heads and said, "Fellow Taoist Yi, you can be considered as half of our junior martial brother. Please don't get involved in our missions. Every 30 years, the Academy sends out missions. Everyone's missions are private. Aside from the Academy's teachers who assign the missions, no one is allowed to ask about it." Yi Qinghan shrugged and said, "You guys go into the cave and hide. I'll see if I can send them away. After all, this is Longyang City. They might not dare to make a move against Longyang here. Junior Yi, we're counting on you. This mission is related to the survival of the Academy. Please stop them," Su Zhan said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan nodded and watched Su Zhan and the others enter the cold cave. Then, he turned around and quickly left with the cat demon. Yi Qinghan came to the entrance of a cave and said in a low voice, "You personally block this place with rocks. Make it beautiful. Don't expose any flaws." Outside the cave, Long Yang's face was solemn. His dragon aura exploded as he glared at an old man and 3 middle-aged men. He did not look like a human. "Fellow Taoists, this is the territory of Longyang City. This is my mine. I don't care why you're here. Please leave immediately unless you want to be wanted by the Dragon Emperor Immortal Kingdom." Longyang threatened coldly. The old man in the lead had white hair and wrinkled skin like withered tree bark. His eyes were sinister and cold. There was an evil aura in his bones that made people's hair stand. If Su Zhan and the others were here, they would definitely be able to recognize these people as old monster Di Yao and his subordinate. Their cultivation bases were extremely terrifying. Old monster Di Yao's cultivation base was even at the peak of the Xian immortal realm. Fortunately, old monster Di Yao was afraid of Long Yang's identity. In addition, he had the bloodline of a lesser dragon. He did not dare to kill Longyang. Old Monster Diao smiled and cupped his fist. This old man is from the Endless Peak Mountain. I'm looking for a few criminals. I hope Longyang City Lord can make things easier for me. Longyang frowned and replied seriously, so it's exalted immortal Diao. You should know that the Endless Peak Mountain is the Endless Peak Mountain and the Dragon Emperor Immortal Kingdom is the Dragon Emperor Immortal Kingdom. Your arrest warrant is not applicable here. Let's not talk about whether there are any criminals here. Even if there are, you should first go to the main city to apply for a warrant before coming to arrest them. Have you applied for a warrant? Old Monster Diao pretended to be calm and smiled. My boss is applying for a warrant from the Dragon Emperor Immortal Kingdom. However, this is an urgent matter. I hope Longyang City Lord can make things easier for me. Since the warrant is going to be issued, I will return it to you tenfold in the future. How about it? Longyang snorted and replied, My apologies. Although I'm only at the early stage of the Xian Immortal Realm, I'm still the city lord of a large city. I represent the face of the Dragon Emperor Immortal Kingdom. I'll wait for you to obtain the warrant before you come in to search. However, I'll tell you the truth. I've been mining this mine for several months now. No one has come in. At this time, Yi Qinghan rode out on the Jade Mountain Beast. However, his face was smeared with dust and mud. Even Old Monster Diao, who was from the Endless Peak Mountain, could not recognize him. Who in the Endless Peak Mountain did not know about Yi Qinghan's arrest warrant? Yi Qinghan did not dare to expose himself in front of this group of people. The divine bird did not follow him out. Yi Qinghan rode out on the Jade Mountain Beast. His powerful aura caused even Old Monster Diao to retreat several hundred steps. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.